Chapter 2472. Longao was not surprised at all. It would be weird if the four of them agreed to it. The chaotic energy was right beside them, but the four of them had yet to locate it. They could not even find it under his nose. If the four of them knew about it, what would they think? If that's the case, follow me. The four of them still looked cold because they knew very well that Longao would not easily lead them to search for the chaotic energy. Longao would definitely play some tricks. Even though they knew that Longao would play some tricks, the four of them could not do anything about it. What should they do? Do they have to keep following him? It was not a good idea to keep following him. He had to think of a way to deal with Longao quickly. Zhou Feng had already followed the two of them. They were still keeping a distance from each other because they did not know if the other party would suddenly attack. It was better to be safe than sorry. If they were to be assassinated, they would not even have the chance to regret it. Brother Long, what should we do now? Although Longao had a good impression of Zhou Feng, he had to spend some time with him to find out what kind of person Zhou Feng was. As the saying goes, you may know a person for a long time without understanding his true nature. Brother Zhou, to be honest, I can't locate the chaotic energy either. I'm just trying my luck. Our main goal is to keep an eye on the secret land. We can't let the four of them take advantage of us. There was no doubt about it. Zhou Feng was very clear in his heart that if Longao could lock onto the position of the primal chaos force, then he would not dawdle here. Secret land. If they could not locate the chaotic energy, they would have to keep an eye on the secret land and not let it fall into the hands of the four of them. Although the chaotic energy was far more tempting than the secret land, they still had to locate it. If they could not locate it, everything would be for naught. Brother Long, if that's the case, I'll take my leave first. Okay. Zhou Feng turned around and headed towards the black boulder. He was extremely fast and disappeared without a trace in just a short while. How could the four of them not know what Zhou Feng meant? Should they go? Or should they continue to follow Longao and locate the chaotic energy? The four of them felt helpless because they did not know what to do under such circumstances. If they chose to go to the black boulder, once Longao found the chaotic energy, wouldn't they have benefited from Longao for nothing? Not only that, if Longao really located the chaotic energy, even if they could devour the black boulder and become a half-step starry sky dominator, they would not be a match for Longao. However, if he chose to give up on the secret realm, he would be left empty-handed if he was unable to lock onto the chaotic force later. It was really a difficult choice. Longao, if you have locked onto the primal chaos energy, I hope that you can inform the four of us. Without waiting for Longao's reply, the four of them turned and left. The four of them moved extremely quickly as well because they were unsure when the chaotic force would succeed in refining the black rock. If they were unlucky and the black rock really was refined, wouldn't Zhou Feng have taken advantage of them for nothing? Zhou Feng and the four of them left. Only Longao and Miao Ling were left. Miao Ling, do you still choose to trust me and give up on the secret realm? Longao asked curiously. The reason why the five of them left was because they did not believe that he could locate the chaotic energy. After thinking about it, the five of them chose to give up on the chaotic energy. Only Miao Ling did not seem to have any intention of leaving. Instead, she stayed by his side. Could it be that Miao Ling really trusted him? Not to mention the others, even he did not trust himself. Miao Ling smiled and said, Longao, I have confidence in you. Furthermore, it will take a long time for the secret realm to be refined by the primal chaos energy. Even if we return now, it would be useless. Why don't we think of a way to lock onto the primal chaos energy? So that's the case. Miao Ling still believed in Longao. Because Longao said that the chaotic energy would take at least hundreds or thousands of years to refine the secret realm. There was no point in returning now. At this moment, before Longao could react, Miao Ling suddenly swore a blood oath. I, Miao Ling swear to the heavens that from now on, I will treat Longao as a friend and will never change. We will advance and retreat together. If I violate this oath, I will die a horrible death. A blood oath was the strongest oath in the world. No matter who it was, even if it was a peak starry sky immortal, once they swore a blood oath, they would be fearful. It was because of this that no matter who it was, no one would dare to swear a blood oath casually. He was a little surprised, because Longao never imagined that Miao Ling would suddenly swear a blood oath. As for what Miao Ling meant, Longao was no fool. He naturally knew in his heart. Smiling, Longao said, Miao Ling since you have already swore a blood oath, forgive me for being blunt. Although I treat you as a friend in my heart, we are not close friends. There are some things that friends should not know casually. Miao Ling was not angry at all. Instead, she smiled and said, Longao, I know what you mean. You are right. The chaotic energy is very important. Although we can be called friends, we are not close friends. However, I have already swore a blood oath. You should know what I mean. Although I, Miao Ling am not a man, I will keep my promise. What do you think? Things had already reached this point. If Longao still chose not to believe her, then it would be a little too unkind. Thinking of this, Longao smiled and said, Miao Ling I have already sensed the location of the chaotic energy. Hearing this, Miao Ling was instantly overjoyed. Her intuition told her that if Longao did not sense the exact location of the chaotic energy, how could he choose to give up on the secret realm so easily? After all, other than the chaotic energy, the temptation of the secret realm was the greatest. No matter who it was, they would not be able to resist this temptation, including Zhou Feng and the other four. Longao, where did you sense the location of the chaotic energy? Even Miao Ling was 100% sure that the location of the chaotic energy was within the valley. It was just that they were unable to sense it. As for how Longao sensed it, Longao did not say, and Miao Ling did not ask. Chapter 2473. Miao Ling was very clear. If Longao wanted to say, she didn't need to ask. She believed that Longao would tell her. If Longao didn't want to say, then no matter how she asked, Longao wouldn't say a word. According to my senses, the primal chaos force is right beside us. Beside us? Miao Ling didn't seem to understand what Longao meant. What did he mean by beside us? Longao, what do you mean? Longao felt a little helpless. Not to mention others, even he felt a little helpless. Miao Ling, you don't know. According to my guess, the primal chaos force I sensed is right beside us. It's not more than 10 meters away. She was completely shocked. Miao Ling naturally knew what Longao meant. If that was the case, why couldn't she sense any primal chaos force? Even if she believed what Longao said, it seemed a little too ridiculous. Her intuition told her that Longao wouldn't lie to her. If that was true, then things were a little too strange. Before Miao Ling could say anything, Longao continued, I also know that this is a little strange. However, the truth is the truth. It can't be changed. Then what should we do now? We'll take it one step at a time. Longao didn't continue speaking. He immediately released the power of his Yuan spirit and covered the surrounding 10 meters. Miao Ling naturally knew what Longao wanted to do. She didn't say anything either. She just stood there quietly and stared at Longao. She hoped that she could successfully lock onto the primal chaos force this time. Longao knew very well that he couldn't sense the primal chaos force's location with just his Yuan spirit. He could only borrow the power of the primal chaos palace. The mysterious force disappeared without a trace. However, just as Longao was feeling depressed, the mysterious force in the primal chaos palace was suddenly released. Although Longao couldn't control the primal chaos palace, he could control the mysterious force without Miao Ling knowing. Miao Ling had already sworn a blood oath. Logically speaking, she should be his friend, so there was no way she would betray him. Even so, Longao was still a little worried. This was especially so for matters regarding the Primal Chaos Hall. He couldn't let Miao Ling know about it. Longao also hoped that he could successfully lock onto the chaotic force. Could it succeed? Gradually, Longao was more and more certain that the so-called Primal Chaos Force was right beside him, and it was within a few dozen meters of him. He could clearly sense the location of the Primal Chaos energy, but he could not see it. It was too strange. Longao, how is it? Seeing Longao suddenly open his eyes and stare at her, Miao Ling was a little surprised. She didn't know what Longao meant. Miao Ling I've already locked onto the exact location of the Primal Chaos Force. It's right where you are standing. Huh? Hearing that, Miao Ling was pleasantly surprised. She had never imagined that the location of the Primal Chaos energy would be right beneath her feet. Leave immediately. Miao Ling stared at the spot beneath her feet and said impatiently, Longao, since we've already locked onto the location of the Primal Chaos energy, why don't we start breaking the seal now? She couldn't wait because the temptation of the Primal Chaos energy was too great. Even Miao Ling couldn't wait. If she could devour the Primal Chaos energy, then not only would she be able to become a space dominator, she might even be able to surpass it. But one had to know. Even the 12 space dominators in the vast universe, although they had devoured the Primal Chaos stone tablets, they had not truly grasped the Primal Chaos energy within. One could only imagine what the Primal Chaos energy meant. It was because of this that Miao Ling couldn't wait. Longao nodded and said, if you and I work together and attack a certain spot, we might be able to break the seal. Whether it was Longao or Miao Ling they didn't hesitate at all. After all, this was the location of the Primal Chaos energy. The two of them worked together and attacked the target fiercely. One attack was definitely not enough. However, the two of them didn't give up at all. Attack after attack, each attack was stronger than the one before. After a few minutes, boom! A loud sound rang out. The entire valley trembled violently. Following that, a black dot appeared at the spot that the two of them had attacked. A black vortex started to appear. It wasn't too big, only the size of 2 or 3 people. The tear in space, Longao. If I'm not wrong, the Primal Chaos energy should be within the tear in space. Seeing this, Miao Ling's face turned extremely dark. It was as ugly as it could get, because Miao Ling knew very well what the tear in space meant. Not to mention her, even a half-step space dominator wouldn't dare to step into the tear in space. Many years ago, 9 half-step space dominators wanted to take a step forward and search for the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. They tried to step into the tear in space, but the result was that if it weren't for their good luck, they would have been devoured by the tear in space and died. Facing the tear in space, it would be a lie to say that they weren't afraid. Not to mention Miao Ling even Longao felt helpless and shocked when he saw the tear in space. This was because he had never imagined that the Primal Chaos energy would be within the tear in space. If that was the case, not to mention others, even he wouldn't be able to take half a step into it. Could it be that they had to give up just like that? As the entire valley trembled, Zhou Feng and the others, who had been guarding the black boulder, seemed to have sensed something. They couldn't care less about the black boulder and returned the way they came. The 5 of them had already guessed that Longao might have already locked onto the Primal Chaos energy. What they were afraid of really happened. The 5 of them didn't believe that Longao could lock onto the Primal Chaos energy. Otherwise, they wouldn't have left so casually. Because of this, the 5 of them were filled with regret. If they missed the best time, they wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. The speed of the 5 of them soared. In just a few seconds, they had successfully arrived. However, when the 5 of them saw the situation before them, they could not believe their eyes. The power of primal chaos had indeed appeared, but it was hidden within the spatial crack. Under such circumstances, no one would dare to touch it, unless they wanted to commit suicide or had a screw loose. Longao, how did you do it? Gang Mu and the others found it hard to believe that Longao could do it. However, when they thought about Longao's heaven-defying abilities, it didn't seem too difficult. Chapter 2474. Ignoring the four of them. However, even if Longao didn't reply, the four of them already had an answer in their hearts. The most important thing now was to find a way to enter the spatial crack and devour the primal chaos energy. Since things had already come to this point, they couldn't give up. It wasn't just Longao and Miaolinger. Even the five of them who had just arrived were extremely excited. I believe everyone has already seen the current situation. If we don't work together, we won't be able to get the primal chaos energy. They chose to ignore them. Longao turned around and left without even looking at them. What did Longao mean by that? Longao's sudden decision to leave stunned everyone, including Zhou Feng and Miaolinger, because no one knew what Longao meant. They couldn't figure it out. They really couldn't figure it out. Brother Longao waved his hand and smiled. I'd better go back and wait for the secret realm. I can't do anything about the primal chaos energy, but I believe everyone knows what the spatial crack means. I don't need to say more. It wasn't just Longao. How could the others not know what the primal chaos energy meant? They could only watch as Longao left. Should they give up? Or should they stay? Everyone knew that the secret realm was extremely important. If they were unlucky and Longao obtained the secret realm, they wouldn't be able to get the primal chaos energy. Wouldn't they lose more than they gained? If they chose to give up just like that, they wouldn't be able to accept it. Everyone, what should we do now? I believe you all know what the spatial crack means. If we act rashly, we might not even be able to leave alive, let alone devouring the primal chaos energy. How could they not know what Gangmu meant? Are we going to give up just like that? Jin Chen sneered and said coldly, I don't care if you give up now, but I definitely won't. You know better than me what the primal chaos energy means. If we can successfully devour the primal chaos energy. At this point, Jin Chen paused for a moment. After a moment of thought, Jin Chen continued, if we can successfully devour the power of chaos, we might be able to become galaxy rulers. We might even surpass galaxy rulers. Everyone had already decided to give up. It was just a joke. Provoking a spatial rift was an act of suicide. However, after hearing Jin Chen's words, everyone was blinded by the temptation. The temptation of a mystic realm was great, but compared to the power of primal chaos, it paled in comparison. They were not on the same level. Everyone nodded in agreement with Jin Chen's words. As for Miaolinger, she was extremely curious. What was going on? According to Longao's character, since he had already found the chaotic force, even if there was a spatial crack, he would not choose to give up so easily. And the result? However, Longao didn't hesitate at all and chose to give up. He didn't even try, which was completely unlike Longao's character. Longao was curious, and so was Miaolinger. Her intuition told her that this matter wasn't so simple. There was definitely something fishy going on. However, Miaolinger didn't leave. Miaolinger was very clear. She knew that if Longao was willing, there was no need for her to ask or say anything. She believed that Longao would definitely call for her. But in the end, Longao didn't say anything. If she went to look for Longao, it might backfire and cause Longao to dislike her. Because of this, no matter how curious Miaolinger was, she could only choose to endure it. She still believed that Longao was a good person and didn't seem like someone who would betray his friends. Miaolinger believed in her own eyes. As for Zhou Feng, his expression changed again and again. He also felt that this matter wasn't so simple. Because Longao suddenly chose to give up, it was a little strange. First, Longao chose to give up on the mystic realm. Then, he chose to give up on the chaotic force. If someone said that there wasn't something fishy going on, he wouldn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. But seeing that Miao Linger didn't move, Zhou Feng also endured it. Of course, Longao wouldn't choose to give up so easily. He didn't leave, nor did he return to the Black Rock. Instead, he entered the Primal Chaos Palace. Although the chaotic force was hidden in the spatial crack, no matter what happened, he had to find a way to deal with the spatial crack and obtain the chaotic force. Within the Primal Chaos Palace, Longao's face was also very solemn. Although he had the ability to control the starry sky and could also break open the starry sky and form a crack in the starry sky, these were two different concepts. Longao was almost certain that if he entered the spatial crack rashly, there would only be one result: death. Not to mention him, even a half-step space ruler wouldn't dare to go against a spatial crack. This was the strength of a spatial crack. What should he do? Thinking about it, Longao couldn't think of a good way to deal with the spatial crack. However, he was still prepared to give it a try. And there was only one way, and that was to control space. Mastering the starry sky could not only break open the starry sky, but it could also compress the cracks in the starry sky. This was the power of mastering the starry sky. Longao had decided that if he could not even master the starry sky, then he would have to make a prompt decision and choose to give up immediately. He did not want to waste time on the chaotic energy. However, Longao didn't make a move immediately. No matter what, there were still people outside. If it was just Miao Linger, it wouldn't matter. But there were still 5 others. He couldn't let them off so easily. If his luck was good and he could really use space to suppress the spatial crack and obtain the chaotic force, then it would be a fortune amidst misfortune. First, he would teleport everyone away. Next, it would be time for him to show off. But at this time, it wouldn't be easy to teleport everyone away. Miao Linger, don't move. I'm right beside you. Miao Linger was staring at the black vortex when she suddenly heard a spiritual sense transmission. Although she was shocked, she didn't show it on her face. Longao, where are you? Space God Weapon, listen to me. I have a way to enter the spatial crack and obtain the chaotic force. But you can't let others know. You have to think of a way to teleport everyone away from me. Teleport everyone? This was a simple thing to think about, but it was extremely difficult to actually do it. Because no one was a fool. Under the absolute temptation, how could they choose to leave so easily? Chapter 2475. Miao Linger was clear about the current situation. In order to obtain the primal chaos force, she had to first move everyone. It was easy to think about it, but difficult to actually do it. What should she do? After thinking about it, Miao Linger still couldn't think of a good way to deal with them. Everyone, I believe everyone is clear about the current situation. Even if we stay here, we won't be able to obtain the primal chaos force. How could they not know what Miao Linger meant? However, they didn't know what Miao Linger meant. Based on my guess, there should be more than one entrance in the valley. Why don't we go look for other entrances? Perhaps there might be a chance. I have no problem with that. Since Zhou Feng and Miao Linger had already said so, the other 4 didn't have any problems with it. Although they were a little apprehensive, it was just as Miao Linger said. The danger of the primal chaos force was right there. No one dared to casually step into it. A short while later, the 6 of them had already dispersed and disappeared without a trace. Longao's figure appeared as he looked at the black whirlpool in front of him. Longao knew very well that if he casually stepped into the black whirlpool, it would be hard to say whether he would live or die. Was it worth it for the primal chaos force? If it was, the 6 of them would have already stepped into the black whirlpool. In the end, the 6 of them didn't dare to step in because they were afraid. A short while later, Miao Linger and Zhou Feng returned at the same time. Longao didn't intend to tell Zhou Feng at first, but after thinking about it, only Zhou Feng and Miao Linger were his friends. Brother Long, Can you really enter the primal chaos force and obtain it? Although they trusted Longao, the two of them still didn't dare to believe it. It was a little unbelievable. The might of the primal chaos force was obvious. Not to mention ordinary people, even half-step space rulers and space rulers wouldn't dare to casually step into it. He shook his head. I'm not completely confident. Zhou Feng seemed a little anxious. Brother Long, you must bring us into the primal chaos force. As long as we can devour it, not only can we become space rulers, we can even surpass them. Hearing Zhou Feng's words, Longao was a little unhappy. His face instantly turned cold. Zhou Feng, if you don't believe me, or if you're anxious, you can go in alone. Why follow me? Zhou Feng was not a fool. Of course, he knew what Longao meant. If it was any other time, or if it was someone else, Zhou Feng would have made a move long ago. How could he possibly hold back? But now, the situation was a little special. Furthermore, Zhou Feng also felt that what he had said earlier was indeed a bit excessive. My apologies. Ha ha ha, Longao, aren't you being a little too insincere by doing this? We've always been allies, yet you want to hog the primal chaos force for yourself. Right at this moment, suddenly 4 people walked over. They were none other than Gang Mu Yichong, and the others who had just left. The 4 of them naturally wouldn't choose to believe Miao Ling, because this matter was too fishy. No matter what, they had already found the entrance. Why should they continue to search for other entrances? It was completely unnecessary. It was precisely because of this. The more they thought about it, the more they felt that something was amiss. The more they thought about it, the more curious they became. Thus, the 4 of them immediately returned. As expected, they saw Longao preparing to bring 2 people into the black vortex. Fortunately, he came back quickly. Otherwise, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. He wasn't surprised in the slightest. Regarding this matter, Longao had already guessed that it would be best if he could successfully teleport them away. But if he couldn't, then he wouldn't blame anyone. After this incident, Longao was a little more wary of Zhou Feng. Hiding a knife behind a smile? Even if I could enter the crack, why should I bring you guys along? Hearing this, the 4 people's faces instantly darkened and became as ugly as they could possibly be. The 4 of them knew what the other party meant. If it was really as the other party said, then there was nothing they could do. After all, none of them could enter the crack successfully. Right now, their only hope was Longao. Because of this, the 4 of them weren't angry at all. Jin Chen chuckled. Longao, we've already formed an alliance. There's no need for this. What do you say? Longao merely smiled coldly. He didn't care about the other party at all. He chose to ignore them directly. No matter what happened, he would never bring them into the crack. If it was something else, then it wouldn't matter. Only the secret domain and the primal chaos force would benefit others, especially his enemies. Jin Chen wasn't angry at all. Instead, he smiled and said, Longao, as long as you can bring us into the crack, I can promise you that not only will our previous grievances be written off, but I'll also help you in the future. I'll owe you a favor. What do you think? A favor from a peak starry sky immortal was definitely something that could only be chanced upon. If it were anyone else, they would have agreed long ago. Only Longao didn't care at all. Although Longao didn't say anything, his meaning was clear. He chose to give up. Jin Chen's face finally changed. Hua Buili, who had been silent all this time, said, Longao, do you really want to fight to the death with us? Fight to the death. That was enough to explain Hua Buili's meaning. Longao didn't care at all. He smiled coldly and said, Didn't we fight to the death before? What a joke, what a huge joke. Because of the grudges from before, Longao naturally knew that he and the others would not rest until one of them was dead. Among all of them, other than Miao Ling, and Zhou Feng who had shown him mercy, the others did not show him any mercy. They wanted nothing more than to kill him immediately. Since things had already come to this, if he chose to compromise, then he wouldn't be himself. If Longao had the chance, he would not hesitate to kill the four of them, especially Gang Mu and Yi Chong. He would definitely kill them, not to mention bringing them into the space crack. Gang Mu was clearly getting impatient. He said angrily, Longao, if you don't want to bring us into the black whirlpool, then we'll also say that we'll fight to the death. Miao Ling and Longao both laughed. Things had already come to this, and they didn't expect that the other party would still dare to threaten them. They were really shameless to the extreme. You want to enter the black whirlpool? The four of them didn't say anything, but their meaning was clear. If they didn't want the primal chaos force, then they were definitely lying. Chapter 2476. Indifferent. Longao smiled. I can give the four of you a chance? Hearing this, the four of them were not surprised at all. Instead, their faces turned serious. Because the four of them were very clear in their hearts that Longao definitely didn't have such good intentions, but he chose to agree at this time. What do you want? Simple. I can only bring one out of the four of you. Only one? The four of them were no fools. In an instant, they understood what Longao meant. I'll wait for you here. Remember, only one out of the four of you can enter with me. Were they really going to fight? Longao's intention was simple. He wanted them to kill each other. When the time came, Longao would reap the benefit. They couldn't do that. If they really did that, they would fall into Longao's trap. But what if they didn't do it? The most important thing now was to think of a way to enter the space crack and obtain the power of chaos. In front of the power of chaos, Longao was nothing. The two of them weren't on the same level. Longao, are you out of your mind? Gang Mu sneered. If they really fought each other, the one who was out of his mind wouldn't be Longao. It would be the four of them. Longao smiled and didn't say anything. He wasn't in a hurry. In such a situation, the initiative was in his hands. Longao. At this moment, Miao Linger, who had been silent all this while, suddenly said, Longao has made it very clear. I hope you guys can settle this as soon as possible. Miao Linger, this has nothing to do with you. Longao, are you really going to fight to the death? Unless it was a last resort, the four of them were still unwilling to forcefully make a move. Because once Longao died, then wanting to step into the space crack would simply be a fool's dream. If Longao didn't die, it would be difficult for them to enter the space crack. Caught between a rock and a hard place, the four of them didn't know what to do. Yi Chong's expression changed again and again. He said very indifferently, Longao, there is no big grudge between us, and we don't have to fight to the death. In this world, there are no eternal friends or eternal enemies, only eternal interests. What do you think? Longao nodded in agreement. Although he didn't like the four of them, what they said did make sense. Longao was also very curious. He did not know what Yi Chong meant. Yi Chong, speak frankly. It's very simple. Longao, we can exchange something with you. What do you think? Exchange? It was just a joke. Hearing Yi Chong's words, not only did Longao laugh, even Miao Ling and Zhou Feng laughed. In the vast starry skies, there was nothing that could compare to the power of chaos. Besides the chaos tablets, there was nothing else that could compare, not even a mystic realm. Longao and the other two didn't say anything, but the meaning in their words was very clear. Yi Chong smiled and said confidently, Longao, the four of us are peak starry skies immortals. After roaming the vast starry skies for so many years, we've obtained countless treasures. Among all the treasures, you can choose any four. Our request is very simple. Take us into the space crack. What do you think? Would Longao agree? Longao didn't reject immediately. He only said, take it out and let me see. Zhou Feng and Miao Ling weren't too willing, but since Longao had already decided, they couldn't say much. Gang Mu and the other three were still cautious. They took out all the treasures they had. Although the treasures were valuable, compared to the power of chaos, they weren't even worth mentioning. It was a big mess. Of course, Longao would not put these treasures in his eyes. What kind of joke was this? Unless it was a heaven-defying starry sky divine tool, he would not be interested in ordinary starry sky divine tools at all. Longao purposely did this to toy with them. These trash aren't qualified. You should give up. Trash? Not qualified? Hearing Longao's words, the four of them turned gloomy instantly because these treasures were the treasures that they had obtained after so many years of traveling across the vast starry sky. But now, Longao had deemed them as so-called trash and unqualified. He simply didn't put them in his eyes. Longao, you're going too far. The four were already restless. Because things had already come to this point, if they really couldn't do it, then there was only one way, which was to kill Longao and completely destroy the entrance. Since the four of them couldn't enter the spatial crack, they couldn't allow Longao and the other two to enter. Because they knew very well what it meant if Longao and the other two devoured the power of chaos. Once Longao and the other two became rulers of starry skies, it would be a matter of minutes for them to kill the four of them. How could Longao not know what the four were thinking? Sneering in his heart, Longao wasn't worried at all. As long as he wanted to, he could step into the spatial crack at any time. Even if the four of them joined forces, they wouldn't be able to stop him. This was confidence. Zhou Feng Miaoling let me give you a piece of advice. I'm not completely confident. I'm also risking my life. If I step in, I won't know whether I'll live or die. Do you still insist on following me? I don't have any problems. Miaoling didn't even think about it because her intuition told her that Longao wasn't simple. Otherwise, she wouldn't have chosen Longao and given up on the five of them. As for Zhou Feng, his expression changed again and again. He asked, Brother Long, are you really confident? Zhou Feng didn't believe Longao at all, because the black vortex in front of him was always the crack of the starry sky, which was the most powerful force in the vast starry sky. Once he stepped into it, he would definitely die. If that was the case, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Longao was very unhappy. He originally wanted to choose to believe Zhou Feng, especially at a time like this. It was better to have one more friend than one more enemy. However, Zhou Feng was a person who didn't really trust others. If that was the case, if they really stepped into the spatial crack, it would be ruined because of Zhou Feng. The situation was very dangerous, and they couldn't afford to make any mistakes. Thinking of this, Longao said, At most, I'm 5% confident. But Zhou Feng, since you don't trust me, there's no point in following me into the spatial crack. What do you think? Zhou Feng seemed to want to say something, but in the end, he suppressed it because he really didn't know what to say at this time. Chapter 2477. Longao, you've gone too far. Gang Mu and the others were furious when they saw Longao ignoring them. As peak universe immortals, they had never been humiliated like this. Longao didn't say anything and chose to ignore them. Miaoling let's go. You want to leave? Under the gazes of the four and Zhou Feng, Longao and Miaoling disappeared into thin air. Under everyone's eyes, he disappeared without a trace. How did Longao do it? The five of them knew that Miaoling couldn't do it. They knew her too well. The only explanation was a universe god tool. Within the primal chaos palace. Looking at the surrounding space, Miaoling naturally knew where this place was. She exclaimed in shock, This spatial space god equipment is very strong. I can guarantee that the 5 people outside won't be able to sense the location of this equipment. That's right. Longao was confident. Not to mention peak universe immortals, even half-step universe rulers and universe rulers couldn't lock onto the primal chaos palace. Miaoling what do you think of Zhou Feng? Toward Zhou Feng, this person, Longao was still a little worried. Miaoling knew what Longao meant. She thought for a while and said, "Forgive me for being blunt, but I've known Zhou Feng for a long time. Based on my understanding of him, he's not simple. I wanted to warn you before, but I was afraid you'd misunderstand." Miao Ling didn't say it directly, but the meaning was clear. Longao wasn't a fool. How could he not know? It seemed like his guess was right. Zhou Feng wasn't a good person. Fortunately, he wasn't fooled by Zhou Feng's appearance. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Longao, I know what you're thinking. Regardless of whether we can get the Primal Chaos Palace, I'll help you deal with the 5 of them, including Zhou Feng. He was very grateful. Longao knew what it meant to deal with the 5 of them. The 5 of them weren't ordinary universe cultivators. They were true peak universe immortals. Even if the 2 of them worked together, it would be hard to kill the 5 of them. This was the true power of 5 pinnacle universe undyings working together. Thank you. There's no need for thanks between friends. Longao naturally knew that Miao Ling still didn't know what he had done outside. If she knew, it would be unknown if Miao Ling would still be willing to help him. If they were not friends, Longao might not say it. Now that the 2 of them were friends, and they were even close friends, Longao didn't plan to hide it anymore. Longao wouldn't show any mercy to his enemies, but he would also treat his friends with sincerity. This was the Longao. Without hiding anything, Longao gave a rough account of what had happened outside. What should be said would be said, and what should not be said would be left unsaid. Listening quietly, Miao Linger added a few more words. When Longao finished, Miao Linger smiled and said, "Are you afraid of me and the 9 great cosmic empires if I become your friend? If I can avoid it, I will." If it was anyone else, with Miao Linger's strength, she could do whatever she wanted. Only the 9 great cosmic empires, especially now, had half-step universe rulers. No matter how strong Miao Linger was, she wasn't enough in front of a half-step universe ruler. It was because he treated Miao Linger as a friend that Longao couldn't bear to do it. How could Miao Linger not know about this? She smiled. Miao Linger immediately swore a blood oath. The content of the blood oath was simple. She would help Longao with all her strength in the future. If she went against the oath, she would be destroyed by the heavens and earth. Looking at Miao Linger in front of him, Longao sighed deeply in his heart. Why do you have to do this? If you treat me as a friend, there's no need to say more. Unless you don't want to acknowledge me as a friend. He was helpless. But since things had already come to this, Longao didn't want to lose this friend. He could only nod in agreement. Miao Linger, from now on you can call me Big Sister Miao, and I'll call you Little Brother Long. How's that? If it was in the past, Longao would definitely be unwilling. But now, he shouted, "Big Sister Miao, our situation is very troublesome. Although I have a 30% chance of entering the spatial crack, if the 5 outside don't leave, it'll be hard for us to find a chance." Longao was helpless about this. After this, the 5 outside wouldn't leave. If that was the case, it would be very troublesome for him. Miao Linger's face was also very serious. After thinking for a while, she said, "Little Brother Long, if we want to lure the 5 of them away, there's only one way. That is for us to deal with the 5 of them. I don't believe that they won't leave." Not necessarily. If it was anything else, the 5 of them would definitely choose to leave without hesitation. Only the primal chaos force was too tempting. If the 2 of them were to make a move now, as long as the 5 of them weren't stupid, they would definitely think that the 2 of them were playing a trick. If the 5 of them really fell for it, then it would be really strange. If this didn't work, Miao Linger didn't have any better ideas. Because the 5 of them would definitely stay in the spatial crack. What should they do? "Little Brother Long, why don't we find a new entrance? This way we can do it without anyone noticing." How could Longao not know what Miao Linger meant? However, he said helplessly, "I've already sensed it many times before. There's only this black vortex in the entire valley. This is also the only entrance. But Big Sister Meow, I can tell you clearly right now that there are countless spatial cracks within the spatial crack. Even if we can successfully enter, I'm afraid that we won't be able to move an inch. Meow Linger had already guessed this. But even so, she still hoped to give it a try. The temptation of the primal chaos force was too great. If she could successfully devour the primal chaos force, then without a doubt, not only would she be able to become a Starry Sky ruler, she might even be able to surpass the Starry Sky ruler. Because of the primal chaos force, Meow Linger was prepared to give it a try no matter how dangerous it was. Using her life to gamble, if she won, then everyone would be happy and she would soar into the sky. But if she lost, then she would lose her life. But even so, Meow Linger was still willing to gamble with her life. Even if she lost, she would accept it. With regards to Meow Linger's intentions, Longao was extremely clear. He naturally knew how serious this matter was. If he lost, both his and Meow Linger's lives would be in danger. Chapter 2478. Gamble? Or not gamble? Was it worth it to lose his life for the power of primal chaos? Meow Linger naturally knew what Longao meant. It was definitely difficult to gamble with one's life. Little brother Long, listen to me first. I know your situation very well. If you cultivate under normal circumstances, it's not that I doubt your talent, but even if you're talented, you'll need thousands or even tens of thousands of years to break through the limits of the Starry Sky immortal realm. He nodded in agreement. With regards to his own talent and cultivation speed, Longao naturally knew. If he could devour the mysterious power in the Primal Chaos Hall, his cultivation speed might be faster. However, he couldn't control the Primal Chaos Hall. As for when the mysterious power would appear, he couldn't be sure. The mysterious power might appear one day. It might take 10,000 years or even hundreds of millions of years. He didn't know. Seeing that Longao didn't speak, Meow Linger continued, even if you can break through the limits of the Starry Sky immortal realm, what will you do if you meet a half-step Starry Sky ruler or a Starry Sky ruler? Meow Linger didn't know that Longao had the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. That made sense. Big Sister Meow, I want to tell you something. I hope you can keep it a secret for me. Please speak. Meow Linger seemed very surprised because she knew that since Longao said so, it must be very important. What was it? Longao didn't hide anything and said, back then, a primal chaos plane suddenly appeared in the vast universe and 12 primal chaos stone tablets appeared. Everyone knows about this, and even the 12 Starry Sky rulers were alarmed. Meow Linger didn't know about this at all. For so many years, she had been staying in the mysterious plane and rarely stepped out. It was because of this. Hearing this, Meow Linger was very shocked because she knew very well what it meant for 12 primal chaos stone tablets to appear in the vast universe. Everyone knew. There were 12 primal chaos stone tablets in the vast universe, and they had been refined by the 12 Starry Sky rulers. How could there be another 12 primal chaos stone tablets? Regarding this matter, Meow Linger did not have the slightest bit of doubt. Because she knew that Longao had no reason to lie to her. Because this matter was known by the entire universe. As long as they left, they could casually ask around and she would know. Could it be that Longao had already obtained the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet? Meow Linger knew that if Longao didn't obtain the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet, he wouldn't have mentioned this matter. If that was the case, then things would be completely different. Meow Linger didn't say anything. To tell you the truth, I've successfully obtained the 12 Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. Aside from a few people, no one else knows about this. Huh? They were completely shocked. Hearing Longao's words, Meow Linger was completely stunned. She had never imagined that Longao had really obtained a Primal Chaos Tablet. Not only had he obtained a Primal Chaos Tablet, but he had also obtained 12 of them. In that case, As long as the Chaos Tablet was successfully refined, wouldn't Longao be able to create 12 rulers of the universe? 12 astral dominators were enough to sweep through the vast universe. Miao Ling was very touched in her heart. She knew very well that Longao only told her this because he treated her as his elder sister. Otherwise, if it was someone else, how could they possibly reveal such a secret so easily? Sister Miao, I've already distributed the 12 Primal Chaos Stone Tablet. In the future, when these people completely refine the Primal Chaos Stone Tablets and become the rulers of the universe, we won't have to fear anyone. Miao Ling had already guessed Longao's intentions. Brother Long, are you saying that we don't have to risk our lives for the primal chaos energy? He nodded, then shook his head. Sister Miao, my intentions are simple. Leave this matter to me. Please believe in me. As long as there's a chance, I'll let you get what you want. Longao's intentions were clear. He wanted to enter the crack in space alone. No, definitely not. How could Miao Ling agree? This was a joke. If she agreed, she would be letting Longao down. She wouldn't be able to answer to herself. She definitely couldn't agree. Before Miao Ling could speak, Longao had already interrupted her. Sister Miao, listen to me first. I know you're worried about me, but I can tell you clearly that with this Astral God tool, I can go anywhere. I can protect myself. But if you stay here, not only you, but even I will be in trouble. Is that true? Miao Ling clearly didn't believe him. Brother Long, are you trying to trick me? Sister Miao, unless you don't trust me and are afraid that I'll take the primal chaos energy for myself. Miao Ling naturally knew that Longao was joking. Obviously, he didn't want her to take the risk. But since he had already said that, if she still insisted on going, it would make Longao think too much. No matter how worried she was, she still nodded and smiled. Brother Long, I know what you mean. I won't say anything more. Just remember one thing, be careful. Take your life as the most important thing. If you feel that something is wrong, retreat immediately. Don't fight force with force. Longao also smiled. Sister Miao, I know. After so many years, I've walked step by step. I've encountered too many life and death situations, but I'm still alive and well. After I leave, you have to be careful. Zhou Feng and the others might not let you go. If it was a one-on-one battle, with Miao Ling's strength, she naturally wouldn't fear anyone. But if it was 5 against 1, she wouldn't be a match for them. The final result was obvious. It would be a lie to say that she wasn't worried. Smiling, Miao Ling continued, Little brother Long, don't worry. I can guarantee that even if the 5 of them were to join forces, they wouldn't dare to casually deal with me. No matter what, they are extremely fearful of my formation unless they have absolute confidence. Others might not know the strength of a formation master, but how could Longao not know? He was very clear that with Sister Miao's formation skills, it was enough to intimidate the 5 of them. Miao Ling was moved to another place by Longao. In front of her was a huge black rock. Although she could clearly sense that it would take hundreds or thousands of years for the black rock to be successfully refined, there were always exceptions. If the primal chaos energy succeeded in refining the black rock ahead of time, it would benefit Sister Miao. She believed that the 5 of them wouldn't return to this place in a short period of time. If that was the case, Sister Miao staying here would be killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Longao was also very relieved in his heart. Chapter 2479. In front of the black whirlpool. Just as Longao and Miao Ling had guessed, the 5 of them wouldn't give up so easily. The 5 of them stared at the black whirlpool. Even if they couldn't enter, they were sure that Longao would come again. As long as they could control Longao, entering the black whirlpool wouldn't be difficult. Longao? Seeing the figure that suddenly appeared in front of them, the 5 of them were delighted. Under such circumstances, Longao actually dared to appear. Longao, I'll say it again. As long as you hand over the secret technique to enter the space crack, our previous grievances will be written off. Moreover, we'll do our best to help you. How about it? Laughing coldly, Longao looked at Zhou Feng standing on the left and asked, Brother Zhou, what do you mean by this? Brother Long, I know we're making things difficult for you. However, waving his hand, Longao understood what Zhou Feng meant. Indeed, he wasn't a good person. He looked coldly at Zhou Feng in front of him. He didn't say anything and just stared at him. Zhou Feng, you can be shameless or shameless. However, swaying left and right like you, hiding a knife behind your smile, you're truly shameless to the extreme. Even if I were to bring someone into the space crack, it wouldn't be you. If it was any other time, Zhou Feng would definitely continue acting. However, as time passed, Zhou Feng realized that Longao didn't trust him at all. If this continued, it would be impossible for him to gain Longao's trust. Precisely because of this, Zhou Feng couldn't wait any longer. He didn't know when Longao would choose to enter the space crack alone. When that time came, it would be too late to regret. Thinking of this, Zhou Feng decided to team up with the other four to deal with Longao. Zhou Feng didn't say anything, which meant he agreed. The five of them stood side by side. The 5 peak starry sky immortals released powerful auras that formed a barrier. Not to mention ordinary people, even peak starry sky immortals might not be able to break through. This time, Longao didn't plan to force his way in. If he chose to do so now, it would be disadvantageous for him. Longao, a wise man, submits to circumstances. Don't be so shameless. Gang Mu stopped Yi Chong and smiled. Longao, even if you enter the space crack alone, you'll have a slim chance of survival. If we go in together, we can look after each other. Look after each other? That was simply nonsense. If Longao chose to believe Gang Mu, then his brain would really be flooded with water. If we go in. If we go in. Gang Mu knew what Longao wanted to say. His face was gloomy, but he didn't answer. He didn't know how to answer in this situation. I know what the 5 of you want. My attitude is still the same. I won't tell you the secret method. Before the 5 of them could speak, Longao continued, No, if the 5 of you want the secret method, there is a way. The 5 of them didn't speak. They didn't know what Longao meant. If you want the secret technique to enter the black vortex, there is only one way. Among the 5 of you, only one can obtain the secret technique. I will watch you fight, and the final victor will obtain the secret technique. Longao's meaning was simple. He wanted the 5 of them to kill each other. Once 4 out of 5 people were lost, then the last remaining person would probably be seriously injured. At that time, Longao would be able to sit back and reap the benefit. How could the 5 of them not know this? The 5 of them looked gloomy. Their faces were as ugly as they could be. Were they going to attack by force? If they had full confidence, then why would they dawdle? They would have killed Longao long ago. At that time, as long as they used Soul Search, they would be able to find out everything they wanted to know. But now, the situation was very special. The reason was simple. Longao possessed a heaven-defying divine artifact. Just a while ago, Longao and Miao Linger had disappeared without a trace right under their noses. From start to end, they had no idea what had happened. They were wary of the weapon in Longao's hand. If they failed this time, it would be difficult to lure Longao out. So, the 5 of them decided that the best result was to kill him in one shot. The 5 of them were looking for an opportunity. They released their auras, trying to lock onto Longao. But would Longao care? The 5 of you don't have to try to lock onto me. If I want to leave, I can leave even if I'm locked onto by your auras. Longao did not resist in the slightest. Just as the aura of the 5 people firmly locked onto him, with a whoosh, he once again disappeared without a trace under the eyes of the 5 people. The situation this time was almost exactly the same as the last time. From the beginning to the end, the 5 of them carefully sensed but still couldn't sense how Longao did it. Although they clearly knew that the reason why Longao could disappear into thin air was definitely because of the Starry Sky Divine Tool in his hand, wasn't such a heaven-defying Starry Sky Divine Tool a bit too abnormal? Even though they saw it with their own eyes, they still found it hard to believe. It was simply unbelievable. Without waiting for the 5 people to react, Longao's figure appeared once again. He was still under the 5 people's eyes, causing the 5 people's faces to become more and more solemn. If they could get their hands on Longao's heaven-defying weapon, there was no doubt that it would be like adding wings to a tiger. The more this was the case, the greedier the 5 of them became. They wanted to kill Longao even more. Ha 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 ha. Longao looked up to the sky and laughed maniacally. His laughter was full of contempt and ridicule. Looking at Longao's crazy laughter in front of them, the 5 people's faces became more and more ugly, especially Gang Mu and Yi Chong, because from the beginning, they were not on good terms with Longao. How long had it been? Longao was still standing in front of them, and had the confidence to challenge them. He did not put them in his eyes at all. Uncle could endure it, Aunt could not. Secret Cave could endure it, but Chrysanthemum could not. What do you think? We don't have full confidence. If we force it and delay time, it won't be easy to trap Longao in the future. Chapter 2480. Spiritual Sense Transmission. The 5 of them were very depressed because they really had no other way. Then what should we do now? We must kill Longao in one hit. We can't give him any chance to breathe. There's only one way now. We have to use the power of our primordial spirit. Primordial spirits? The other 4 knew what Gang Mu meant. If they were lucky, they could use their primordial spirits to kill Longao in one hit. If they were unlucky, then there was no doubt that at that time, not to mention killing Longao, they might also be heavily injured. Should they use their primordial spirits? Finally, the 5 of them reached a consensus to use the power of their primordial spirit. In their opinion, even if Longao was strong, he was still a small Star Sky legend. How strong could a Star Sky legend's primordial spirit be? Even if the 5 of them joined hands, any one of them would have a primordial spirit far stronger than Longao. If they were still afraid to attack, then they should just kill themselves. All of a sudden, the 5 of them immediately released their primordial spirits and swept towards Longao. It was too fast. From the beginning to the end, Longao never thought that the 5 of them would use the power of their primordial spirit. If it were other things, Longao might be afraid. Only primordial spirits, even if the 5 peak Star Sky immortals joined hands, he wouldn't have any worries. In terms of strength, Longao was definitely not as strong as the 5 of them. This was without a doubt. But when it came to primordial spirits, Longao was not afraid of anyone. Not to mention a peak Starry Sky immortal, even a half-step Starry Sky ruler, Longao had full confidence. With the power of his primordial spirit, even if he couldn't suppress a half-step Starry Sky ruler, he could definitely compete with one. From this, one could imagine how strong Longao's primordial spirit was. Trying to suppress him with the primordial spirit? It was simply a joke. Not hiding? Seeing that Longao didn't disappear, the 5 of them were a little curious but more vigilant. They didn't believe that Longao wanted to kill himself. If so, could it be that Longao still had a trick up his sleeve? The 5 of them had never thought that Longao's primordial spirit could suppress the 5 of them, because it did not conform to common sense. In the 5 of them's opinion, the reason why Longao was so stable was entirely because Longao had a Starry Sky Divine tool. So what if he had a Starry Sky Divine artifact? The 5 of them didn't put Longao in their eyes. As long as Longao didn't enter the Space Star Sky God weapon, then they could kill Longao. But the result? 5 pinnacle starry sky immortals joined forces, and 5 powerful primordial spirit forces intertwined with each other like a tornado, violently sweeping through all the space in the surroundings. The power of 5 primordial spirits ruthlessly pressed down. As steady as Mount Tai. It did not move an inch. Longao stood on the spot. Suddenly, his body released a terrifying primordial spirit power. Under normal circumstances, Longao's primordial spirit couldn't be a match for the 5 of them. It was almost impossible. Just when the 5 of them thought that Longao was dead, the situation changed. A shocking scene happened. The 5 of them were completely stunned. They never thought that Longao was just a star sky legend. How could his primordial spirit be so powerful? If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they would have found it hard to believe. The primordial spirit tornado formed by the 5 primordial spirit collided with Longao's primordial spirit. The two collided and sparks burst out. It was very terrifying. Longao didn't move at all. Instead, the 5 of them retreated dozens of steps before they could barely stop. The 5 of them were completely shocked. They couldn't believe it. Was this the primordial spirit power a star sky legend should have? Longao, you. Gang Mu said you 3 times, but he didn't say it in the end. They couldn't figure out why Longao's primordial spirit was so powerful when he was just a star sky legend. Could it be that Longao used some secret method to train his primordial spirit? This kind of situation was possible, but the 5 of them were all peak starry sky immortals and possessed powerful primordial spirit power. If the 5 of them joined forces, they would be invincible under half-step starry sky ruler. Because of this, they were very shocked. Even if Longao had been training his primordial spirit, it was impossible for him to suppress the 5 of them. They couldn't figure it out. They really couldn't figure it out. It's really better to see than to hear. I thought 5 peak star sky immortals would be earth-shattering once they joined forces. But now. Longao shook his head mockingly and said contemptuously, "So that's all you've got? I was afraid before, but now." Although Longao didn't finish his words, the meaning in his words was very clear. The 5 people's faces were very ugly. Being humiliated by Longao like this, they simply lost all face. Longao, your primordial spirit is only slightly stronger. If you are a man, then fight with us. Don't hide in the starry sky divine tool. Today I want to see how strong you, a person whose reputation is not as good as meeting in person, is. The 5 of them had guessed that Longao only had a powerful primordial spirit. If his strength was the same as a primordial spirit, they believed that Longao would have attacked long ago. Why wait until now? In the end, Longao still didn't dare to fight with the 5 of them. A fight? The 5 of you against one of me? No, Longao. Among the 5 of us, you can choose any one of us. As long as you can defeat any one of us, you can enter the crack in the starry sky alone. What do you think? Although Longao was very confident in his strength, he also knew that if he fought a peak star sky immortal, he could definitely kill them. However, it was almost impossible for him to fight a peak star sky immortal. Moreover, there were 5 peak star sky immortals in front of him. If he waited until the most intense battle and the others attacked at this time, wouldn't he lose more than he gained? If he agreed, then he would really be out of his mind. With a sneer, Longao said coldly, "Gang Mu, you don't need to provoke me. I will find you in the future. I want to enter the space crack now. I hope you can stop me. Don't let me down." The provocation failed. However, the 5 of them cursed in their hearts when they heard Longao's words. They didn't expect Longao to be so arrogant. The 5 of them were guarding the black vortex with all their might. Yet, Longao still dared to say such arrogant words. If Longao still managed to step into the spatial crack in this situation, then the 5 of them could simply commit suicide. Ha 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 ha. The 5 of them burst into laughter at the same time. Although they didn't say anything, the meaning of their laughter was very clear. Chapter 2481. The five of them stared at him coldly. No matter what happened, they could not let Longao pass through. In the next second, Longao's body suddenly disappeared. Using space teleportation, Longao's body was everywhere. As for the five of them, they were still the same. No matter how Longao changed, they all firmly guarded in front of the black vortex. From the way the five of them saw it, as long as the five of them did not move, it would be almost impossible for Longao to pass them and step into the spatial crack. Longao chuckled as well. Seemed like the five of them were still quite alert. Even though space teleportation could allow him to pass through the five of them, Longao did not dare to do so recklessly. Behind the five of them was a space crack. If he were to pass through the five of them, he would enter the space crack directly. By then, he would not even know how he died. No matter what, he did not know much about space cracks. If he were to step in recklessly, who knew what would happen? First, he had to pass through the five of them. Then, he would use space mastery to test out what was going on with the space crack. At this moment, Longao wielded his chaos axe and slashed at the five of them. Boom, boom, boom. In just a few seconds, Longao had already continuously chopped out 81 times. Axe after axe, everywhere was filled with axe shadows. The five of them were surrounded by space cracks, and this was Longao's cultivation base being only at Star Legend. If he were to go one step further and break through the limits of Star Immortal Realm, the power of space mastery would be completely different. Even the five of them were wary of the other party. After all, the power of the space crack was way too strong. Before the five of them could react, Longao used space mastery and chaos axe to create a space crack to trigger a black vortex. For so long, ever since the black vortex appeared, it was like a lake, unusually calm. But now, due to the countless spatial rifts in the surroundings, the black vortex suddenly began to spin wildly. It looked extremely terrifying and strange. The black vortex started to reflect countless space cracks, far stronger than the space cracks Longao had created. Looking at the spatial crack reflected by the black vortex, let alone the five of them, even Longao was a little shocked. This was because even he had never thought that things would turn out like this. The starry sky tear that he created using his starry sky mastery could actually trigger the black vortex's starry sky tear. Regardless of whether it was the five of them or Longao, they could clearly sense how powerful the spatial crack reflected by the black vortex was. Retreat. If he stayed here and was swallowed by the spatial rift, the consequences would be unimaginable. If one was swallowed by the space crack, then even a peak universe undying would be swallowed by the space crack and disappear without a trace. With a turn, Longao had already entered the Primal Chaos Palace. Longao had full confidence in the power of the Primal Chaos Palace. As long as he stepped into the Primal Chaos Palace, the spatial crack reflected by the black vortex would not be able to enter the Primal Chaos Palace. As for the five people, their speed soared to the extreme. Even the five of them were extremely wary of the spatial cracks reflected by the black vortex. If they were slightly slower, they would undoubtedly die. In a short while, the five of them had already disappeared without a trace. With Longao's departure, the spatial crack had also disappeared. The spatial crack reflected by the black vortex could at most cover an area of a few dozen meters. Any larger and it would not be able to cover it. A few minutes later, the five of them returned. Thinking about it now, they felt some lingering fear. Fortunately, the five of them were fast enough. Otherwise, the five of them would have most likely met with disaster. Everything was because of Longao. Until now, the five of them still did not know how Longao did it. However, the five of them had seen many times that Longao would use an axe every time he broke through the starry sky. Could it be because of the axe? If that was the case, then Longao had too many secrets. Whether it was the spatial starry sky god tool or the axe, if they could obtain them all, they would be able to move unhindered in the starry sky. They would not even need to fear a half-step starry sky ruler and could choose to ignore them. The more that was the case, the more greedy the 5 of them were. They could not wait to get their hands on the treasures on Longao. If they could get their hands on the secret grounds, the power of chaos, and even the treasures on Longao, that would be the best outcome. Longao, I know you're still here. Show yourself. Ha 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 ha. Along with the laughter, Longao's figure appeared instantly. Up till now, the 5 of them had not locked onto Longao's starry sky god tool. That was enough to show just how heaven-defying that starry sky god tool was. Longao, I can give up on the power of chaos. However, you have to hand over your spatial starry sky god tool and the axe to me. How about that? Zhou Feng, aren't you going overboard? The moment they heard Zhou Feng's words, the 4 of them were thoroughly enraged. Zhou Feng's meaning was simple. He wanted to take all of Longao's treasures for himself, even if he had to give up on the power of chaos. If he could get his hands on the power of chaos, how could Zhou Feng choose to give it up so easily? If there were no surprises, Zhou Feng must have assumed that he would not be able to get his hands on the power of chaos. Hence, he would take a step back and choose the treasures on Longao's body. That was the only way he could give up on the power of chaos. That was the epitome of shamelessness. However, no matter how angry the 4 of them were, they did not dare to explode out recklessly. This was especially the case under such circumstances. They could not afford to be rash. Otherwise, the losses might outweigh the gains. However, Zhou Feng chuckled out and chose to ignore the 4 of them. Even though the 5 of them were in an alliance on paper, each of them had their own ulterior motive. Without absolute benefits, the 5 of them would have long come to blows. Longao chuckled out. How could he not know what Zhou Feng's intentions were? He replied, Zhou Feng, I believe you've already guessed it. That's right. The reason why I could break through the starry sky and step into the tear was all because of the axe in my hand. If I were to give it to you, what would I do? The 4 of them were slightly surprised when they heard Longao's words. Even though they had guessed it, they were not certain. They never thought that it would really be the case. No wonder Zhou Feng suddenly wanted to give up on the power of chaos and obtain Longao's axe. So it was because of this. Zhou Feng really was shameless to the extreme. The 4 of them glared at Zhou Feng. However, at this moment, Zhou Feng said, Longao, I just want to ask you. Do you agree or not? What if I don't agree? With a swish, a small black dot shot out from Zhou Feng's hand and landed in Longao's hand. Chapter 2482. Looking at the black token in his hands, Longao was curious. He did not know what Zhou Feng meant by giving him this. On the front of the black token was a single word, kill. Behind it was a drawing of a skull. Longao did not know what this was. But when the other 4 looked at the black token in Longao's hands, their faces changed. Killing token? Killing token? What was that? Longao looked at the 4 of them curiously. Looking at the killing token, the 4 of them kept their distance from Zhou Feng, as though they were wary of him. Zhou Feng, to think that you would be from the slaughtering race. Slaughtering race? Slaughtering race? Hearing Gang Mu's words, Longao was stunned. He knew what the killing token in his hands meant. If that was the case, didn't that mean that Zhou Feng was a member of the slaughtering race? Of course, Longao knew what it meant to be a member of the slaughtering race. In the vast universe there were a total of 6 races. They ruled over the universe, and no one dared to offend them. The 6 races were the human race, dragon race, underworld race, mouse race, slaughtering race, and mysterious race. The slaughtering race was known to use killing as a catalyst. Back then, they had created countless bloody storms in the universe. For a period of time, the slaughtering race was invincible. But eventually there was no other way. The human race, dragon race, underworld race, and mouse race worked together to suppress the slaughtering race. The mysterious race had always been the most mysterious race, and almost never appeared in the universe. If the four races had to work together to suppress the slaughtering race, one could imagine how strong the slaughtering race was. Ha! Ha 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 ha! Ha 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 ha! Looking at the shocked faces of everyone, Zhou Feng seemed to be satisfied with their attitude. He reared his head back and laughed out. As a member of the slaughtering race, he was proud to be a member of the slaughtering race. Looking at Zhou Feng's maniacal laughter, the faces of the four of them darkened. Jin Chen said coldly, "Zhou Feng, even though the four races no longer view the slaughtering race as an enemy, but—" he waved his hand. Zhou Feng did not give Jin Chen the chance to continue. He interrupted, "Stop wasting my time. If it weren't for the four races working together back then, our Slaughter clan would have become the ruler of the vast universe long ago. We'll settle this debt sooner or later." The four of them were extremely wary of the Slaughter clan. No matter what, the strength of the Slaughter clan was obvious. "Zhou Feng, if you reveal your identity, do you think you can still leave here alive?" The attitude of the four of them was very clear. Although the Slaughter clan had disappeared for many years, as long as they encountered a member of the Slaughter clan, it would be best to kill them. Especially with Zhou Feng's strength, if they did not eliminate him completely, there would definitely be endless trouble in the future. Did Zhou Feng care? Thinking about it, if Zhou Feng cared about this matter, he would not casually reveal his identity. He smiled. Zhou Feng said coldly, "Do you think I care about you?" The more Zhou Feng acted like this, the more fearful the four of them became. They naturally knew how troublesome this matter was. If Zhou Feng did not have full confidence, how could he so easily reveal his identity? Fight? Or not? If it was any other time, the four of them would definitely not hesitate to attack. In the face of the Slaughter clan, they had to be united. However, the situation now was a little special. If they attacked Zhou Feng and both sides suffered losses, wouldn't that be letting Longao take advantage of it? Then, Longao would be able to reap the benefit. Both sides were in a stalemate. Zhou Feng ignored the four of them. Instead, he looked at Longao and said with a smile, "Longao, you should know how powerful the Slaughtering clan is. I can promise you that as long as you hand over the treasure in your hands, I will bring you back to the Slaughtering clan later. With the help of the Slaughtering clan, we will be able to survive." Zhou Feng did not continue speaking. However, the meaning of his words was very clear. Would Longao choose to compromise? If it was anyone else, they might have chosen to compromise because of Zhou Feng's deterrence. However, if Longao chose to compromise, then he would not be Longao. Longao smiled and said indifferently, "Zhou Feng, whether you are from the Slaughter clan or not has nothing to do with me. As for the treasure in my hand, it has nothing to do with you. If you want my things, I advise you to go home and sleep. See if you can dream of it." Longao's meaning was very clear. He was not willing to hand over the treasure. However, after thinking about it, it was understandable. Such a heaven-defying treasure, not to mention Longao, no matter who it was, they would not hand it over easily. It was too ridiculous. Zhou Feng was not angry at all. Instead, he smiled and said, "Longao, I believe you know about the soul search. However, I can tell you one more thing. Our Slaughter clan has a secret technique that can let us know what we want to know. As for you, you will suffer a fate worse than death. I believe you do not want to see such an outcome." A threat. A blatant threat. Longao ignored such a threat. He sneered and said, "Zhou Feng, don't talk nonsense with me. If you want my treasure, you have to kill the four of them first. Then we can talk. How about it? Kill the four of them?" It was easier said than done. Even if Zhou Feng believed in his own strength, he was very clear that it was almost impossible for him to kill the four of them by himself. Before Zhou Feng could speak, Longao had already disappeared. The rest of the matter was their business. Of course, Longao knew about this matter. Of course, he hoped that the two sides would kill each other. If both sides could be injured, then for him, it would be completely beneficial. At that time, he could even reap the benefits of the fishermen. Whether it was Gang Mu, or Zhou Feng, they all knew clearly what Longao meant. Even if they knew Longao's intention, both sides were still a little restless. A battle could break out at any time. Zhou Feng's face was filled with impatience. Since his identity had been exposed, there was no point in continuing to pretend. As for starting a battle, Zhou Feng was no fool. If he started a battle now, it would be very disadvantageous for him. He could not let Longao take advantage of him. His most important task was to obtain Longao's treasure, as well as the primal chaos force and secret realm. You guys are the last to scram. My target is not you. You'd better not provoke me. Otherwise, be careful of your lives. Zhou Feng coldly looked at the four of them. His killing intent surged and engulfed the four of them. It was very fearful. The four of them looked at Zhou Feng in shock. At this moment, Zhou Feng's aura was very powerful. Chapter 2483. In a one-on-one fight, none of the four were Zhou Feng's match. Zhou Feng was indeed from the Slaughter clan. Attack? Or give up? The four of them were not fools. They knew very well that if they did not attack now, they might not even be able to leave this plane alive, let alone snatching the chaotic energy. They sneered. How could Zhou Feng not know what the four of them were thinking? Do the four of you want to attack? Seeing that the four of them did not speak, Zhou Feng continued, I can give you a chance. The four of you attack together, regardless of life or death. How about it? The more Zhou Feng acted like this, the more the four of them were afraid. If they won the bet, then everything would be fine. What if they lost the bet? Zhou Feng dared to do this because he was confident. If they attacked rashly, they would not even have the chance to regret it. At this moment, Gang Mu suddenly smiled and said, Zhou Feng, there is no grudge between us. There is no need to fight to the death. Why don't we deal with Longao together? We can split the loot equally. How about that? Shaking his head, Zhou Feng's face was full of sarcasm. He smiled and said, we can't split equally. I only have one request. We each get half and the other half will be divided among the four of you. This was too much. The four of them were angry but did not dare to say anything. They were already afraid of Zhou Feng. No matter how much Zhou Feng crossed the line, they believed that the four of them would not dare to say anything. The four people's faces were very gloomy, as ugly as they could be. What should they do? The four of them knew that if they chose to compromise, then they would have no way to survive in the future. They would be completely dominated by Zhou Feng. This was something that they did not want to see. You are not willing? Seeing that the four of them did not speak, Zhou Feng snorted and said coldly, if you are not willing, then all of Longao's items will belong to me. Zhou Feng, aren't you a little too much? The four of them took a step forward. Their intention was clear. Murderous aura swept out fiercely. Murderous aura filled the air. Zhou Feng did not care at all. He chose to ignore them and looked at the four of them coldly. The four of you, the winner is the king and the loser is the bandit. Whoever is stronger will have the final say. Zhou Feng's words were right. In the vast starry sky, strength reigned supreme, and the strong reigned supreme. Whoever was stronger would have the final say. Of course, the four of them knew this. However, they were unwilling to admit it. If Zhou Feng were to do it alone, there would only be one outcome for them, a tragic death. Zhou Feng, we have to admit that you are indeed very powerful. If we were to fight one-on-one, none of us would be a match for you. However, if we were to fight 4 against 1, how confident are you that you can successfully kill us? Hearing this, Zhou Feng's face instantly darkened. Of course, Zhou Feng knew what the four of them meant. Just as the four of them said, if it was a one-on-one fight, he could ignore anyone. However, if it was a one-on-four fight, even if he was strong, it was impossible to kill all four of them. If it was before, Zhou Feng would have definitely made a move. Even if he knew that it was impossible to kill all four of them, he would still fight. But now, the situation was very special. If he were to forcefully take action, not to mention whether he could successfully kill the four of them, just the fact that Longao was involved would benefit Longao. He definitely could not do such a thing. Seeing Zhou Feng's reaction, the four of them laughed. Let's split it evenly. The four of them did not want to go head-to-head with Zhou Feng. They only wanted to fight for the benefits that they deserved. As for dealing with Zhou Feng, that was a matter for the future. Zhou Feng did not speak. He just stood there quietly. Each of them had to rely on their own ability. At this time, any more words would be useless. If they wanted to fight for more benefits, then it would depend on their own strength. Strength determined everything. In the primal Chaos Palace, both sides did not start a fight. Longao was not surprised. As long as the five of them were not stupid, he believed that they would not casually start a fight. After all, he was still involved in this matter. Whether it was the four of them or Zhou Feng, they were all afraid that he would reap the benefits. Otherwise, the outcome would be different. Longao was also helpless. Because the five of them were guarding the black vortex, it was not easy for him to step into the black vortex. What should he do? At such a distance, even if he used starry sky control, he could at most trigger the space crack in the black vortex. It was impossible to test whether he could successfully enter the black vortex. It was impossible for him to sit here and wait for death. If that was the case, he would only be wasting his time. After thinking about it, Longao could not think of a good way. One left, one right. The four of them and Zhou Feng were guarding the black vortex. The five of them were almost certain that as long as the five of them were guarding here, Longao would definitely appear. This was a problem without a doubt. Time passed by bit. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Just as the five of them were continuing to guard the black vortex, the situation suddenly changed. The black vortex that had appeared before slowly began to merge. Yes, it was merging. Looking at the black vortex in front of them slowly merging, the five of them could only be anxious. They did not dare to take a step forward. The five of them knew very well what the space crack meant. Without full confidence, they did not dare to take a step forward. If they were not careful, the consequences would be unimaginable. They could only watch the black vortex merge. There was nothing they could do. What was going on? If the black vortex disappeared, it would be unknown if they could continue to lock onto the location of the chaotic force, let alone enter it to obtain the chaotic force. Under the situation where the five of them did not dare to step into the black vortex had completely merged and returned to normal in just a few minutes. The five of them did not dare to hesitate and immediately began to lock onto the vortex. However, no matter how they locked onto it, they could not lock onto the location of the chaotic force. The more they locked onto it, the uglier their faces became. It was clearly in front of them before, but they did not dare to step in. Now they regretted it. They wanted to step in, but there was no chance. They were filled with regret. Longao, come out? There was no response. Without Longao's lock-on, the five of them could not lock onto the chaotic force. The more they thought about it, the angrier they became. However, no matter how unwilling and angry they were, things had already come to this point. Other than being helpless, there was nothing they could do. Longao did not respond at all. The five of them could not do anything because, under such circumstances, they could not lock onto the chaotic force. They could not even lock onto the Longao. Chapter 2484. Within the Primal Chaos Palace. Longao wasn't surprised by the fusion of the black vortex as he had already guessed it. If the black vortex didn't fuse, anyone could lock onto the primal chaos force. It was nonsense to think about it. Since he could lock onto it the first time, he could lock onto it the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, the sixth time. That was the case. Longao wasn't worried at all. The 5 of them were still guarding the black vortex. Even if the black vortex had fused, they believed that the primal chaos force wouldn't leave. As long as they locked onto this place, they would have a chance when Longao appeared. But the result? Longao had successfully sensed that the position of the primal chaos force had changed after the fusion of the black vortex. Longao had already guessed that every time the primal chaos force opened and fused, it would change its position. After a few days of locking onto it, Longao once again locked onto the position of the primal chaos force. This time, Longao didn't alert anyone. He used all his strength and even used the primal chaos axe. After a few hundred slashes, the primal chaos force was finally split open. The black vortex appeared again. Within the black vortex, countless space cracks appeared crazily. It looked extremely terrifying. Without any hesitation, he decided to end the battle quickly. The entire valley wasn't very big. No one knew when the 5 of them would appear. If the 5 of them rushed over, it would be troublesome. Because of this, Longao immediately used Starry Sky Control to see if he could enter the black vortex with it. He used Starry Sky Control. This way, the space cracks in the black vortex wouldn't be drawn out and he would be much safer. He was overjoyed. Longao relied on Starry Sky Control to enter the black vortex smoothly. The reason why Longao dared to step into the black vortex wasn't because he had Starry Sky Control. His real reliance was the so-called Primal Chaos Palace. It was because of the Primal Chaos Palace that Longao had full confidence. Even if he were to face danger in the black vortex, he believed that he could escape successfully once he hid in the Primal Chaos Palace. Without the Primal Chaos Palace, even Longao wouldn't have dared to casually step into the Primal Chaos Palace just by grasping the starry sky. Longao, it's broken. Hearing the loud noise, the 5 of them rushed over as fast as they could, just in time to see Longao stepping into the black vortex. The expressions of the 5 people changed completely. What he was afraid of really came true. He was afraid that the black vortex would shift its position after merging. Now it had really shifted its position. In the end, it was Longao who was playing tricks. What the 5 of them were really worried about was that Longao would step into the black vortex. If he succeeded in devouring the primal chaos energy and became the sovereign lord of the starry sky, then none of them would be a match for him. Seeing Longao step into the black whirlpool, the 5 of them could only stop in their track. The 5 people's faces were very gloomy. The anger in his heart erupted like a volcano, and he wished he could tear Longao into pieces. What should we do now? What else can we do? We just hope Longao doesn't devour the primal chaos energy. Otherwise, when he becomes the sovereign lord of the starry sky, we'll really be finished. If it were anyone else, the 5 of them wouldn't believe that anyone could devour the primal chaos energy. But the situation was different now. Others couldn't step into the crack in the starry sky, but Longao had smoothly stepped into it. This alone was something no one else could do. Not only that, it was better to be safe than sorry. If Longao really did devour the primal chaos energy in the black vortex, then after becoming the sovereign lord of the starry sky, not to mention the 5 of them, even 9 half-step sovereigns wouldn't be a match for Longao. The only thing we can do now is to guard this place. Once Longao appears, whether he devours the primal chaos energy or not, we have to work together to eliminate him. We have to cut the weeds and pull up the roots to prevent future trouble. The other 4 didn't have the slightest objection to Zhou Feng's suggestion. Inside the black vortex, Longao used the primal chaos axe in his hand and the divine ability to control the starry sky. He took one step after another. Step by step, he moved forward slowly and carefully. This was because Longao knew very well that he had to be very cautious. Otherwise, if he was careless, he would be doomed eternally. It was pitch black all around. Even with Longao's strength, he couldn't see the situation around him clearly. However, he could clearly sense that there were cracks in the starry sky everywhere. Fortunately, he had the Chaos Axe and the starry sky divine ability. Otherwise, once he stepped into the black vortex, he would undoubtedly die. If he could step into the black vortex smoothly, the 5 of them wouldn't only be guarding outside and not dare to take half a step in. Can't go on? After just 100 steps, Longao was shocked to find that he couldn't go on at all. Even if he wanted to force his way forward, it was impossible. The surrounding environment was very strange. He didn't encounter the so-called primal chaos energy at all. Could it be that this wasn't the location of the primal chaos energy? It could be said that he was extremely depressed. He had gone through so much trouble to enter this place. He didn't expect to directly devour the primal chaos energy. As long as he could borrow the primal chaos energy to increase the speed of refining the non-elemental primal chaos energy, it would be a blessing in disguise. However, there was clearly no primal chaos energy here. If that was the case, wouldn't he have made a wasted trip? Was he going to give up just like that? He was unwilling to give up. Longao obviously wasn't willing to give up just like that. Moreover, his intuition told him that the location he had locked onto was definitely correct. There was definitely primal chaos energy in the black vortex. It was just that he couldn't lock onto it. What should he do in this situation? With no other choice, Longao tried to release his Yuan spirit. However, as soon as it appeared, it was immediately attacked by the surrounding mysterious energy. If he hadn't retracted it in time, he would have been severely injured. Could the mysterious energy be the primal chaos energy? Longao knew very well that his Yuan spirit had just suffered a backlash from the mysterious energy. It was very likely that it was the primal chaos energy he had come to find this time. If that was really the case, his locking onto the primal chaos energy was correct. If that was the case, he couldn't give up. Before Longao could react, the primal chaos hall in his dantian suddenly refracted a mysterious energy. It was the mysterious energy that Longao had relied on to break through time and time again. Even now, Longao was unable to confirm whether the mysterious energy in the primal chaos hall was the so-called primal chaos energy. Chapter 2485. The mysterious energy from the primal chaos palace had just appeared. Waves of powerful energy appeared out of thin air in the surroundings. Without guessing, Longao already knew that the mysterious and powerful energy was 100% the so-called chaotic energy. He was overjoyed. Before Longao could think of a way to devour the primal chaos force, the situation suddenly changed. The power of primal chaos that appeared in the surroundings began to suppress Longao fiercely. Its power was extremely powerful. At this rate, he believed that he would be pulverized by the chaotic force in less than 10 minutes at most. The situation was very dangerous. What should he do? He didn't know if the mysterious force in the primal chaos palace could fight against the primal chaos force. Most importantly, Longao couldn't control the primal chaos palace at all. He couldn't control the mysterious force reflected by the primal chaos palace. Life and death were determined by fate. Whether he was dead or alive was still an unknown. However, Longao couldn't resist the suppression of the primal chaos force. In the end, he had no choice but to step into the primal chaos palace. Longao had full confidence in the power of the primal chaos palace. As long as he stepped into the primal chaos palace, even the primal chaos force couldn't lock onto him. As expected, the primal chaos force couldn't enter the primal chaos palace. At this moment, Longao finally heaved a sigh of relief. He couldn't go on like this. No matter what, he stepped into the black vortex to devour the primal chaos force. If he continued to stay in the primal chaos palace, when would it end? After thinking about it, Longao couldn't think of a good way to deal with the primal chaos force. He thought that he could use the mysterious force reflected by the primal chaos palace to suppress the primal chaos force. But now it seemed that unless he could truly control this mysterious force, everything else was nonsense. He sat quietly in the primal chaos palace. Longao looked at the empty space around him. Until now, he still didn't know what kind of primal chaos palace was. The only thing he knew was that the primal chaos palace he had was very powerful. It could fight against the starry sky ruler and the primal chaos force. The mysterious force had disappeared without a trace. He did not continue to sit and wait for death. Longao was unwilling to give up so easily. It had not been easy for him to find chaotic force. If he chose to give up now, he would not even have the chance to regret it. He left the primal chaos palace. The moment it appeared, Longao didn't hesitate at all. He immediately summoned the attributeless chaos stone tablet. There was no doubt about that. No matter which primal chaos stone tablet it was, it definitely contained primal chaos energy. If his elemental chaos stone tablet could devour the surrounding chaos energy, it might not be a bad thing. But what was the result? As the mysterious power of the primal chaos palace disappeared, the surrounding primal chaos power also disappeared. He was depressed to the extreme. Longao had already guessed that the surrounding primal chaos force must have been summoned by the mysterious energy reflected by the primal chaos palace. It would be one thing if he could casually mobilize the mysterious power. However, the current situation was very special. He was unable to control the mysterious power within the primal chaos hall. As such, it was unknown when the mysterious power within the primal chaos hall would appear. Strictly speaking, it would depend on luck. If his luck wasn't good, no one would know when the mysterious power would appear. If his luck was good, the mysterious power might appear in the next second. But even so, Longao did not sit and wait for death. If he were to continue waiting for the mysterious power within the primal chaos palace, who knew how long he would have to wait? Using his finger as a sword, he used Starry Sky Mastery. At the same time, cracks began to appear in the surrounding space. Huff huff huff, huff huff huff, huff huff huff. Before Longao could react to it, the cracks in the surrounding space appeared because of his finger as a sword. They were many times stronger than the cracks that Longao had used. He was scared out of his wits. Just as Longao was prepared to enter the primal chaos palace, he came to a stop. *CK it. If he were to continue being afraid of danger, when would he ever succeed? Especially under such circumstances, he had to give it a shot. Using the Starry Sky Mastery to create a barrier, he covered his entire body. If it were anyone else, they would definitely not dare to do this. After all, if they were the slightest bit careless, they would definitely die without a burial ground. However, Longao was not bothered in the least bit. The barrier created by the Starry Sky Mastery resisted against the surrounding power of primal chaos. In fact, Longao still had some doubts in his heart. This was because ever since he stepped into the black vortex, the chaotic energy that appeared around him didn't seem to be very fierce to him. Otherwise, he knew what the consequences would be just by thinking about it. Using the Starry Sky Mastery to break open the cracks, the power of primal chaos suddenly appeared in the surroundings. This time around, Longao did not hesitate as he started devouring the surrounding power of primal chaos. Of course, Longao did not devour the power of primal chaos directly. With his body as a medium, there was no way it could withstand the power of primal chaos. If he were to forcefully devour the power of primal chaos, there would only be a single outcome. his body would explode and he would die. Longao's greatest hope was the non-elemental Primal Chaos Stone Tablet and the Primal Chaos Palace. If even these two Starry Sky God artifacts could not withstand the power of Primal Chaos, then there was no doubt that he would have to leave the Black Vortex even if he was extremely unwilling to do so. Whether it was the non-elemental Primal Chaos Stone Tablet or the Primal Chaos Palace, they could not devour the power of Primal Chaos. Regardless of whether they succeeded or not, the two Starry Sky God artifacts did not move at all. This was what made Longao the most depressed. Even so, Longao did not choose to give up so easily. Next, he tried the so-called Primal Chaos Seal. In the end, it still ended in failure. All that was left was the Primal Chaos Act. Everything depended on the Primal Chaos Act. His last hope was the Primal Chaos Act. Longao had already decided that if the Primal Chaos Acts still could not deal with the power of Primal Chaos, then he would leave the Black Vortex immediately. He would not stay here any longer to save himself some trouble. Longao held the Primal Chaos Axe in his hand and poured the power of his primal spirit into the Primal Chaos Axe. His heart was in a mess because even now, he was not sure if he could devour the power of Primal Chaos Axe. Would he be able to succeed? Just as Longao was waiting anxiously, the power of Primal Chaos in the surroundings began to appear wildly and surged towards the Primal Chaos Axe. Longao, who was holding the Primal Chaos Axe, was not attacked by the power of Primal Chaos Axe. He was only shocked because he had never thought that he could really devour the power of Primal Chaos Axe. It was simply a blessing in disguise. Chapter 2486. The Chaos Axe's appetite was huge. It devoured crazily. Longao was more and more shocked. Even the power of chaos could be swallowed so casually and in such a crazy manner. Thinking about it, one could imagine how powerful the Chaos Axe was. Since things had already come to this, Longao didn't care about anything else and just devoured it first. Originally, Longao thought that he would let the non-attributed Chaos Stone Tablet devour the power of chaos. But now, he never thought that the non-attributed Chaos Stone Tablet couldn't devour the power of chaos at all. Instead, the Chaos Axe devoured it so fiercely. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, dozens of days had passed quietly. After devouring for more than 10 days, the Primal Chaos Axe gradually stopped. Before Longao had the time to be excited and agitated, the Primal Chaos Axe suddenly reflected a small text. At the front there were 9 large black words, Chaos 9 Axes. Chaos 9 Axes? What was this? In an instant, Longao had already understood that the small text floating out of the Chaos Axe was a Starry Sky martial technique. Almost without guessing, Longao knew that the power of this Chaos 9 Axes was definitely not simple. He had obtained the Chaos Axe for a long time. For so long, he had never obtained any martial technique. Only now. It didn't appear earlier or later. If someone said that there wasn't something fishy, he wouldn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. He was pleasantly surprised to the extreme. Countless small words all entered Longao's mind. Just as Ao Long was about to merge the Primal Chaos 9 Axes, he was stunned. That was because the Primal Chaos 9 Axes in his mind had only appeared the first act. The other 8 axes were all covered by a mysterious power. Even he could not break it. In this case, didn't it mean that he could only cultivate the first axe of the Chaos 9 Axes? He was happy for nothing. It was only the first axe of the 9 axes. Even if it was powerful, how powerful could it be? It was simply depressing to the extreme. Even so, Longao still didn't choose to give up casually. Intuition told him that the Starry Sky martial technique he had just obtained was definitely not simple. He would try to cultivate the first axe to see how powerful it was. Sitting directly on the ground, Longao began to quietly cultivate the first axe of the Chaos Nine Axes. The first of the Chaos Nine Axes was known as Hell's Devour. Originally, he had thought that with his talent and strength, it would be an easy matter for him to cultivate this simple axe. However, he had never thought that it would be so difficult to truly cultivate it. Longao was stubborn and would not give up easily, especially at a time like this. He could clearly feel that if he cultivated here, the speed of his cultivation would obviously increase. Furthermore, there were definitely 5 people standing guard outside. If he was able to successfully cultivate the first hatchet, his chances of success would increase even further. Thinking of this, Longao did not immediately leave the Black Vortex. He focused on cultivating the first of the 9 Chaos Axes, devouring Hell. Outside the Black Vortex, as time slowly passed, the faces of the 5 people became more and more gloomy and ugly. There were only 2 outcomes for Longao to enter the Black Vortex. The first outcome was that Longao would not be able to withstand the destruction of the space cracks in the Black Vortex. The second outcome was that Longao would successfully devour the Chaos Force and become a Starry Sky Dominator. Although the 5 people knew very well that the chances of Longao devouring the Chaos Force were very small, there were always exceptions. If Longao really did devour the Chaos Force and become a Starry Sky Dominator, then everything would be too late. In front of a Starry Sky Dominator, an ultimate Starry Sky Immortal was not even worth trash. If Longao really became a Starry Sky Dominator, then it would be a matter of minutes for him to kill the 5 of them. What should they do? No matter how anxious they were, things had already come to this, and the 5 of them were powerless. The more they thought about it, the angrier and more helpless they became. One wrong step had led to many wrong steps. The 4 of you, what should we do now? I believe you all know that if we are unlucky and Longao really devours the Chaos Force and becomes a Starry Sky Dominator, then we will all die without a burial place. How could the other 4 not know what Zhou Feng was saying? What could they do even if they knew? Things had already happened, and it was impossible for them to enter the Black Vortex even if they wanted to. Even if they wanted to step into the Black Whirlpool now, it was already impossible because the Black Whirlpool had already started to merge yesterday. The 5 of them were almost certain that the direction of the entrance had changed. With just the 5 of them, it was impossible to lock onto the entrance. In this case, as long as Longao was lucky enough, wouldn't he really become a Starry Sky Dominator and then leave the Black Vortex? If they were in his shoes, they would definitely do the same. The valley is only so big, and the situation now is very dangerous. Given our strength, with the coverage of our primordial spirits, we will be able to sense any location in less than a second. The 4 of them nodded at Zhou Feng's suggestion and did not object. Since things had come to this point, it seemed that this was the only way. No matter what happened, they could not let Longao become a Starry Sky Dominator and leave here alive. In another place, the black boulder was still being refined by the Chaos Force. Miao Ling was guarding it tightly. Although she was worried about Longao's safety, she did not go because she knew very well that even if she went, she would not be able to help Longao. In fact, she might even implicate Longao. Since the 5 of them were not around, she might as well deal with the black boulder first. However, Miao Ling did not know when the secret realm in front of her would be refined. If it took too long, the 5 of them would not choose to give up so easily. As expected, in a short while, Miao Ling had already sensed the arrival of the 5 of them. Since things had come to this, it was impossible for her to fight the 5 of them alone. The meaning of the 5 people was actually very simple. That was, since they were guarding other places, they might as well guard here. On one hand, they could guard the secret realm. On the other hand, they could cover Longao's position. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. When the 5 of them arrived, they did not find any trace of Miao Ling. They were very curious because under normal circumstances, Miao Ling should be guarding here. However, this was not the main point, nor was it what they were most concerned about. There were only two things that they were most concerned about. One was when the secret realm would be refined by the Chaos Force, and the other was Longao's location. As long as Longao appeared, no matter the price, they would find a way to destroy Longao. Otherwise, when Longao truly refined the Chaos Force and became a starry sky dominator, it would be too late. They would never allow such a thing to happen. Chapter 2487. Inside the Black Vortex, Longao sat quietly on the ground, wholeheartedly cultivating the first axe of the Chaos 9 axes, which was the so-called Hell Devouring. It was easy to look at it, but it was quite difficult to cultivate it. In the blink of an eye, 3 months passed quietly. After cultivating for 3 months, Longao still hadn't succeeded. Strictly speaking, it could only be regarded as a beginner. Yes, just a beginner. Longao calculated that it would take him at least 100 years to truly cultivate the first axe, Hell Devouring. For starry sky cultivators, 100 years was just a blink of an eye. As long as one's cultivation base could break through the 7th cycle starry sky, one's lifespan would be quite long. It would be easy to live for tens of millions of years, not to mention with Longao's current strength. A starry sky legend could live for tens of billions of years or even trillions of years without a problem. There was no other way. Because Longao knew very well that if he went out rashly, he would definitely be attacked by the 5 people. With his current strength, it was almost impossible to fight against 5 people and win against them. There was only one way. If his cultivation base could smoothly break through to the starry sky immortal realm and successfully cultivate the Chaos 9 axes, coupled with his other killing moves, his chances of winning against a peak starry sky immortal realm expert would be much higher. For so long, his cultivation base had been unable to break through. But Longao was full of confidence. With his talent, it shouldn't be difficult to break through to the starry sky immortal realm from the starry sky legend realm in 100 years. Opening his eyes and looking at the pitch-black space around him, Longao's face was very helpless. The chaos force around him had been devoured by the chaos axe, so he could cultivate here with peace of mind. He had found that this place was a holy place for cultivation, which was very beneficial for his cultivation. Longao could be completely at ease while cultivating here because he could be sure that at this moment, the black vortex had merged. Even if the 5 people wanted to step in, it was impossible. Among the Chaos 9 axes, Longao could only cultivate the first axe. As for the second axe, third axe, fourth axe, fifth axe, sixth axe, seventh axe, eighth axe, and ninth axe, let alone cultivate, he couldn't even see the moves behind. He was helpless to the extreme. As for the power of the second to ninth chop, Longao had no idea. Left with no other choice, he could only practice the first act. However, Longao was very clear about one thing. That was the so-called first axe of the 9 chaos axes. It would take at least 100 years to cultivate this axe. Moreover, it was still unknown whether one could succeed or not. It was hard to imagine. How long would it take to cultivate the last 8 moves? Several tens of thousands of years? Millions of years? Or hundreds of millions of years? Longao practiced the first axe of the Primal Chaos 9 axes while carefully studying the Primal Chaos axe. He wanted to know the origin of this starry sky divine weapon. Since the Chaos axe could devour the power of chaos, there was no doubt that the Chaos axe now possessed the power of chaos. It was easy to imagine the power of the Chaos axe. Longao tried to infuse the power of his primordial spirit into the Primal Chaos axe and tried to sense the Primal Chaos axe. There was no movement. Longao was very curious. He did not know where the power of chaos that had been devoured by the Chaos axe had gone. He vanished into thin air. What was going on? Even so, Longao did not choose to give up. He continued to use the power of his primordial spirit to slowly sense the power of chaos in the chaos axe. However, he still could not sense the power of chaos. As for what was going on, Longao knew very well. If there was no accident, it must be that he was not strong enough to master the chaos axe. Not to mention the power of chaos, the power of the chaos axe alone was many times stronger than it was now. However, he could not control the chaos axe and hence, the power of the chaos axe was suppressed. Thinking of this, Longao did not continue to sense it. According to the situation, even if he continued to sense it, he believed that it would be a waste of time and it would be useless. The most important thing now was to cultivate the first axe of the 9 chaos axes as soon as possible. He also wanted to see how powerful the first axe, Hell Devour, was. He continued to cultivate the first axe, Hell Devour. Just like that, Longao did not leave the black whirlpool. He just sat quietly and cultivated the 9 chaos axes. Gradually, he slowly stood up from his sitting position and held the chaos axe in his hand. He began to practice the Hell Devour over and over again. The 9 chaos axes originally came from the chaos axe. The power of the 9 chaos axes could not be exerted by other weapons. Only by using the chaos axe and combining the 9 chaos axes could the power be exerted. Again, and again. According to Longao's speed, he could practice it tens of thousands of times a day. Moreover, Longao did not know fatigue at all. He practiced it over and over again. In the incomparably dark space, there was only Longao's figure. It was strange. With the power that Longao mastered, coupled with the power of the chaos axe, if he practiced the 9 chaos axes without restraint, this place would have been destroyed long ago. But the result? No matter how Longao practiced the 9 chaos axes, the surrounding space did not move at all. It was not affected at all. One had to admit that the space here was indeed very strong. 10 years, Longao was still at the entry level. 20 years, Longao began to gradually improve from the entry level. He was able to master 1/5 of the power of Hell Devour. 30 years, Longao finally began to slowly understand the meaning of Hell Devour, and its power was greatly improved. 40 years, Longao's practice speed accelerated again. It even increased several times. What kind of concept was this? 50 years, Longao's practice speed had soared to a limit. At a glance, one could not even see his shadow. 60 years, Longao's practice speed did not increase. Instead, it began to slow down. 70 years, Longao's practice speed became slower and slower. In a day, he practiced at most 10 or 20 times. 80 years, Longao's practice speed slowed down to the limit. In a day, he practiced at most once. Sometimes, he did not even practice once. He just stood there motionless for the whole day. 90 years, Longao almost stopped practicing. Sometimes, he would only practice once in a few months. Moreover, as long as he used the chaos axe, the surrounding space would appear desolate. It gave people an indescribable feeling, as if they were in hell. Longao was completely unaware of this. 100 years passed in the blink of an eye. Chapter 2488. 100 years passed in the blink of an eye. The black rock still hadn't been refined by the primal chaos energy. The 5 of them waited anxiously. Longao hadn't appeared for 100 years. The 5 of them were almost certain that Longao had died in the black whirlpool. Because of this, after 100 years, the 5 of them had completely given up on Longao. Instead, they focused on the secret realm in front of them. Even if they couldn't obtain the primal chaos energy, they would devour the secret realm. Even if they couldn't become a space dominator, they would at least become a half-step space dominator. But the result? After 100 years, the secret realm still hadn't been refined by the primal chaos energy. In the distance, Miao Ling didn't leave. Although the 5 of them believed that Longao had died in the crack in space, Miao Ling didn't believe it. Her intuition told her that Longao was definitely not dead. Look, the secret realm is about to be refined. Right at this moment, Gang Mu and the others suddenly discovered that the black rock before them had stopped refining. Moreover, the mysterious energy in the surroundings, the so-called chaotic force, had vanished without a trace. Even so, the 5 of them didn't dare to act rashly. If something happened to the black rock, wouldn't they lose more than they gained if they acted rashly? Miao Ling slowly appeared, staring at the black rock. Even if she knew that she wasn't their match, she still insisted on snatching it. Neither the 5 of them nor Miao Ling acted rashly. They just stared at it. After the black rock was refined, the heart of the secret realm would definitely be refined. No matter who it was, if they wanted to fuse with the secret realm, they had to first fuse with the heart of the secret realm. Otherwise, everything would be nonsense. The 6 of them were waiting for the heart of the secret realm. The secret realm has appeared. At this moment, a ray of black light suddenly shot out from the black rock. They couldn't see what it was, but it was very strange. The 6 of them were very clear that the ray of black light was definitely the heart of the secret realm. As long as they could obtain the ray of black light, they could fuse with the secret realm. Whether they could become a half-step space dominator or not, the secret realm was the key. The speed of the 6 of them soared to the extreme, all of them heading towards the black boulder. If it was before, the 5 of them would definitely team up to deal with Miao Ling. 4 of them might even go against Zhou Feng. But now, with the appearance of the heart of the secret realm, the 6 of them each had their own ulterior motives. They all wanted to obtain the heart of the secret realm. Without a doubt, they would have to kill the others first before they could successfully obtain the heart of the secret realm. That was indeed the case. While the 6 of them were heading towards the secret realm, they couldn't care less about anything else and started fighting. Zhou Feng was the strongest and most powerful of the 6. However, it was simply impossible for Zhou Feng to kill all 5 of them by himself. Ha! Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Just as the 6 of them were charging towards the black boulder with all their might, a burst of wild laughter suddenly rang out. Laughter echoed throughout the valley. Longao? Was that Longao's voice? When the 6 of them heard Longao's voice, other than Miao Ling, who was elated, the other 5 were completely stunned. They had thought that Longao would definitely die after stepping into the black vortex. To think that he would be able to make it out alive. A whole 100 years. To think that Longao had stayed in the black vortex for a whole 100 years. If not for the fact that they had heard Longao's voice, they wouldn't have believed it. It was inconceivable. Longao, how dare you? Ha! Why wouldn't I dare? Longao appeared beside the black boulder without anyone noticing. Looking at the 5 of them who were rushing over, he grabbed the black boulder without hesitation and covered it with the black light. Looking at the situation, the 5 of them were completely stunned. They had waited bitterly for 100 years for this chance. But now it was going to be taken advantage of by Longao. How could they be willing to accept this? Looking at how Longao was snatching the secret realm, the 5 of them didn't know whether to be happy or angry. They were happy because Longao was snatching the secret realm. Without a doubt, Longao hadn't devoured the primal chaos energy and hadn't become a star dominator. Otherwise, he wouldn't have needed to snatch the secret realm at all. He would have only needed to kill the 5 of them. They were angry because even if Longao hadn't devoured the primal chaos energy, he would still have become a half-step star dominator if he could devour the secret realm. At that time, he would still be able to kill them in minutes. No matter what happened, they couldn't let Longao devour the heart of the secret realm and refine it to become a half-step star dominator. The 5 of them didn't continue fighting each other. Instead, they all rushed towards Longao at an extremely fast speed. As for Miao Ling, she naturally wouldn't let the 5 of them rush over. If Longao could obtain the secret realm, it would be the best choice for her. Miao Ling was very clear that with the interference of the 5 of them, it would be impossible for her to obtain the secret realm. Miao Ling-er's strength was limited. She couldn't stop the 5 of them by herself. Moreover, the 5 of them were too fast. As they rushed over, the 5 of them had already suppressed Miao Ling-er's strength. However, it was too late. The black light and the black boulder on the ground had already disappeared without a trace. Seeing this, the 5 of them were enraged to the extreme. Their speed became even faster. They originally thought that Longao would turn and leave after obtaining the secret realm. However, the 5 of them were shocked because Longao didn't leave at all. Instead, he stood there quietly, as if waiting for them. Holding the primal chaos axe in his hand, Longao wanted to test how powerful his primal chaos 9 axes was. After more than 100 years, he did not hesitate to successfully cultivate the first axe. As for when he would be able to obtain the second axe of the primal chaos 9 axes, even he did not know. Not only that, Longao had been cultivating for the past 100 years. However, he didn't know why, although he was originally very confident in his talent, he felt very helpless at this moment, because after more than 100 years, he still hadn't succeeded in breaking through in his cultivation. Under normal circumstances, with his talent, even if it was a little difficult for him to break through to the starry sky immortal realm from the legend realm, it shouldn't be so difficult. 100 years was a bit of nonsense, but the result? After 100 years, he still hadn't succeeded in breaking through in his cultivation. It could be said that he was helpless to the extreme. Because of this, even if he succeeded in cultivating the first axe of the primal chaos 9 axes, it was still unknown whether he could contend against a peak starry sky immortal realm expert. Longao also wanted to test his current strength. He could use the 5 of them to test it out. If the 5 of them knew what Longao was thinking, who knew if they would be angered to death? Chapter 2489. Fighting 1 against 5? Seeing that Longao wasn't dodging and seemed to want to fight them head-on, the 5 of them burst out laughing. They had seen arrogant people before, but they had never seen someone so arrogant. He didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Brother Long, quickly dodge. Seeing that Longao had successfully taken the secret realm, Miao Ling-er was pleasantly surprised. However, at this moment, when she saw that Longao wasn't dodging and was prepared to fight them head-on, Miao Ling-er started to worry again. Fighting 1 against 5, not to mention Longao's current strength, even a starry sky immortal expert wouldn't be able to do it. What was going on with Longao? She couldn't figure it out. She really couldn't figure it out. However, Miao Ling-er was very far away from Longao. As the saying goes, distant water couldn't quench a present thirst. On the other hand, Longao wasn't worried at all. Just as the 5 of them were about to reach him, Longao's primal chaos axe had already slashed out. It was just a single axe. The primal chaos axe in Longao's hand seemed very ordinary. There wasn't anything special about it. However, the 5 of them were very clear that the axe in Longao's hand wasn't to be underestimated. It could split the starry sky and cause cracks in space. Just thinking about it made one realize how terrifying this starry sky god weapon was. The 5 of them didn't dare to underestimate it. However, for the secret realm, the 5 of them went all out. They didn't care about anything else and attacked Longao with all their might. The result? Before the 5 of them could react, Longao slashed out with the first axe of the primal chaos 9 axes, Hell Devour. A terrifying force covered the 5 of them. It was as though they were instantly transported to hell. It was very desolate and strange. This was something that the 5 of them didn't expect. Space cracked. Before cultivating, Longao didn't expect that the primal chaos 9 axes that he had successfully cultivated could be combined with starry sky mastery. Not only could it split the starry sky and compress the space crack, it could even expand the area and its strength. The 5 people also did not expect that although Longao's realm did not increase, his strength actually increased so quickly. What was going on? The 5 of them were not fools. They had already guessed that Longao had entered the black vortex. Even if he did not succeed in devouring the primal chaos force, they believed that he had obtained some kind of divine ability. Hell devoured. The surrounding cracks in the starry skies were like hell as they began to devour the 5 of them. If the 5 of them continued to clash head-on, there was no doubt that even if the 5 of them worked together to resist hell's devouring soul, they would still be taken seriously. As the saying goes, a wise man submits to circumstances. Of course, the 5 of them would not continue to meet force with force. They immediately retreated. Their retreating speed was extremely fast. Rolling and crawling, the 5 of them had already escaped the range of hell's devour. At this moment, the 5 of them looked at Longao who was in front of them. Their faces were gloomy and ugly. "Sister Miao, come here." With Miao Ling Er's speed, she had already arrived beside Longao. She coldly stared at the 5 people before her. The killing intent radiating from her body was so strong that it seemed to have materialized, ruthlessly enveloping the 5 of them. His killing intent was not concealed in the slightest. "Longao, if my guess is correct, 100 years ago, when you stepped into the black vortex, you must have obtained some kind of divine ability, right? What has that got to do with you?" The 5 of them were already used to Longao's arrogance. They were only angry that Longao had entered the black vortex alone. If they had entered as well, they might have been able to devour the power of chaos and even obtain such a heaven-defying divine ability. Even though the 5 of them were extremely unwilling to admit it, they had no choice but to admit that their strength was no longer enough to suppress Longao. Just from that move alone, if they had let their guard down even a little, the 5 of them would have been doomed eternally. Could it be that they were going to give up just like that? The 5 of them had waited for countless years for the mysterious plane. If they were to give up just like that, they were truly unwilling to accept it. How could Longao not know what the 5 of them were thinking? "Are the 5 of you unwilling to accept it?" Before the 5 of them could speak, Longao continued, "Before I go back on my words, you'd better scram. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless." In fact, Longao wasn't completely confident that he could kill the 5 of them. If his cultivation base could break through to the starry sky immortal realm, he would undoubtedly be able to kill 5 peak starry sky immortal realm experts at the same time without a doubt. However, the current situation was a little special. If he was facing one of them alone, Longao might be able to fight and kill him. However, if he were to face 5 of them alone, even with Miao Ling Er's help, he wouldn't be able to do it. The 5 of their expressions changed again and again. In the end, the 5 of them chose to leave. "Little brother Long, are you all right?" "I'm fine." Even though the 5 of them chose to leave temporarily, they won't give up so easily. "We have to be careful." Miao Ling naturally guessed that if little brother Long had the confidence to kill the 5 of them, he wouldn't have gone through so much trouble. In the end, it was because little brother Long didn't have the confidence to kill the 5 of them. If that was the case, the 5 of them definitely wouldn't give up. "Little brother Long, what should we do now?" Longao smiled and said, "Big sister Miao, this is the birthplace of the secret realm. If I'm not wrong, even if there's no primal chaos energy here, it's still a holy land for cultivation. You and I can cultivate here for another 100 years." Even if Miao Ling was a fool, she already knew what Longao meant. Without waiting for Longao to continue, she said, "Little brother Long, this definitely won't do. You're the one who obtained the secret realm, so you should be the one to devour it. I won't devour it. Miao Ling had already guessed it. How could she agree so easily? Even though her relationship with little brother Long wasn't bad, she might be able to accept it if it was something else. Only the secret realm was something she couldn't devour. How could Longao not know what she meant by going against Big Sister Miao? However, he had already decided that since he had already devoured the attribute-less primal chaos stone tablet, he would definitely become a starry sky ruler in the future. However, if he could devour the secret realm, it would definitely be twice the result with half the effort. However, Longao was someone who valued his friends greatly. If they were his friends, he would treat them wholeheartedly. If they were his enemies, then sorry, if they dared to provoke him, he would definitely send them to the 18th level of hell. Smiling, Longao said, Big Sister Miao, if you still treat me as your little brother, then go ahead and devour the secret realm. If you don't want to continue treating me as your little brother, then I won't say anything more. Oh right, Big Sister, even if you devour the secret realm and become a half-step starry sky ruler in the future, you can definitely help me overcome all difficulties. What do you think? Miao Ling was still unwilling because the secret realm was too important. If she really devoured the secret realm, then she would really be letting little brother Long down. Chapter 2490. Since things were already like this, Miao Ling didn't insist. It was just like what Longao said. Even if she devoured the secret realm and became a half-step star ruler, she could still help her brother. Sister Miao, according to my judgment, you'll need at least a few hundred years to completely merge with the secret realm and refine the heart of the secret realm. What are your plans during this time? Plans? Miao Ling didn't have any family or friends. She was alone. It was fine if she didn't say anything. Now that she thought about it, she was indeed a little lost. What should she do next? Looking at Miao Ling's expression, Longao already knew what she was thinking. He continued, Big Sister Miao, if you don't mind, after we leave this place, you can come to my empire to cultivate. In the future, we will be your family. Family? Hearing this, Miao Ling was touched. She didn't have any concept of family. Although she didn't say much, Miao Ling obviously agreed. She was overjoyed. In the following time, whether it was Longao or Miao Ling they broke open the entrance under the black rock and smashed open a cave. Then, they started cultivating in the cave. On the left side of the cave, Longao sat on the ground and cultivated quietly. However, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break through the final bottleneck. It was really difficult to break through from Star Ruler to Star Ruler Immortal. He didn't know how long he had to wait. In the end, Longao could only sigh. Other than giving up, he didn't know what to do. Longao had already seen the true power of the Primal Chaos 9 axes. Although it was just the first axe, it was enough to scare off a peak Star Ruler Immortal. Even if Longao wanted to cultivate the second axe, he couldn't do it. Because in his mind, he only knew how to cultivate the first axe. He didn't know the rest. This was also why Longao was depressed. Just as Longao was cultivating the first axe, Hell Devour, suddenly the situation changed. Suddenly, Longao realized that something was amiss. The Primal Chaos seal inside the Primal Chaos axe suddenly floated out and floated in front of Longao. Miao Linger, who was refining the heart of the secret realm, suddenly saw Longao's situation and felt very worried. Just as Miao Linger was about to ask, Longao waved his hand, his meaning clear. Even so, Miao Linger was still worried about Longao's safety. She didn't continue to refine the heart of the secret realm, and instead stared intently at it. As long as her brother Longao made the slightest mistake, she would immediately act. The Primal Chaos seal that was floating in front of Longao was just floating there quietly. What did the Primal Chaos seal mean? Longao was a little confused. After all this time, he had never truly grasped the primal chaos seal. He did not know what was going on with the primal chaos seal at this moment. Longao didn't know what was going on. The chaos energy that was devoured by the chaos axe began to flow into the chaos seal. From slow to fast, the speed was getting faster and faster. In the end, it seemed to have reached a limit. Longao did not dare to act rashly. He did not know why the chaos axe and primal chaos seal were acting this way. However, his instincts told him that this should be beneficial to him. Under Longao's shocked gaze, the chaos seal began to change shape slowly. He was completely dumbfounded. The chaos seal had always been the most mysterious thing. As for the power of the chaos seal, Longao did not know at all. However, he did not know why it would change shape after devouring the chaos energy. It split into 9. The chaos seal began to change shape slowly. With the help of the chaos energy, with the black dot as the center, 9 petals began to appear. They were all black in color and looked extremely strange. After the chaos seal took shape, the chaos axe had already cut off the flow of chaos energy. 9 colored lotus represented the 9 lives cycle. From there, it would reach a state of endless cycle. Just like that, Longao knew what this 9-colored lotus was. Excitement, agitation, disbelief, and surprise were written all over his face. "Brother Long, what's going on with you? Are you all right?" He smiled and shook his head. Longao didn't hide anything from Miao Linger. He said, "Sister Miao, this is something I obtained by chance in the past. This time, I suddenly devoured the primal chaos energy and formed a 9-colored lotus flower. It represents the cycle of 9 lives." Devouring the chaos energy? 9-colored lotus? 9 lives cycle? Miao Linger naturally knew what the first point meant. However, she knew nothing about the 9-colored lotus and the 9 lives cycle. She did not know what Longao meant. "Brother Long, what do you mean?" Miao Linger's instincts told her that Longao was definitely fine. Otherwise, why would he have such a surprised look on his face? "Sister Miao, I'm still unable to truly master the seal of chaos. No, it should be the 9-colored chaos lotus, so I'm not sure about the specifics. However, the 9-colored chaos lotus has given me 9 lives. In other words, unless someone can destroy the 9 lives that the 9-colored chaos lotus has given birth to, I'm immortal." Hearing her brother's words, Miao Linger was completely stunned. She had never imagined that her brother's universal divine weapon would be so heaven-defying. She had never seen or heard of such a thing before. 9 lives. Under such circumstances, how could it be possible to destroy all 9 lives of Longao at the same time? Without a doubt, Longao was an immortal existence. Miao Linger was truly happy for Longao. She smiled and said, "Brother Long, you better not reveal this matter. If others know about it, especially the 12 space rulers and 9 half-step space rulers." How could Longao not know about Sister Miao's worries? If this matter were to spread out, it would definitely cause a sensation in the entire vast starry sky. Because in the entire vast starry sky, such a thing had never happened before. The chaotic 9-colored lotus was a heaven-defying divine weapon of the starry sky. It was indeed a bit shocking. "Sister Miao, don't worry. This matter will not be leaked out." As he spoke, Longao couldn't help but laugh. He had never imagined that the Chaos Seal could give birth to the Chaos 9-colored lotus. The Chaos 9-colored lotus gave birth to 9 lives. The 9 lives cycle was endless. No one would be able to destroy all 9 lives at the same time. Longao had full confidence in this, because the 9 lives of the Chaos 9-colored lotus were interchangeable. Now that he had 9 lives, even if he encountered the God Diviner, he would be able to escape unscathed. He was very clear about his situation. Even the space rulers would not be able to destroy the Chaos Nine-Colored Lotus at the same time. Sister Meow, in the following time, I will completely merge with the Chaos Nine-Colored Lotus. This way I will truly be immortal. Chapter 2491. Miao Ling nodded and immediately entered her fusion state. The seal of primal chaos had already formed the nine-colored face and had given birth to 9 lives. However, this wasn't the end. In order to achieve true immortality, one had to think of all ways to fuse the 9-colored face, which meant fusing the 9 lives. This matter could be said to be both simple and difficult at the same time. This was because Longao needed to fuse the one-colored lotuses 9 times before he could succeed. Time passed. Unknowingly, 10 years had passed in the blink of an eye. After 10 whole years, Longao only managed to fuse the one-colored lotus. At this rate, wouldn't it take him 90 years to fuse all the 9 colored lotuses? If that was the case, adding the previous 100 years, he had stayed in this mysterious plane for a total of 190 years. He wondered how the Empire was doing. However, Longao wasn't in a hurry to leave because he was certain that Zhou Feng and the rest hadn't left yet. They definitely wouldn't let this matter rest. Although he had truly cultivated the first axe, Hell Devour, the gap between their realms was too big. If he went out and fought the 5 of them alone, he and Sister Meow would definitely be at a disadvantage. Let's fuse the 9 colored lotuses first. Thinking of this, Longao didn't leave but continued to fuse the 9 colored lotuses. On the other side of the valley, Zhou Feng and the other 4's faces were gloomy because they had already guessed that Longao must have obtained some kind of heaven-defying sacred art even if he didn't manage to devour the primal chaos energy. Just the sacred art Longao used before was enough to explain everything. The 5 knew that Longao's realm wasn't high enough. If he could break through from the legend rank to the immortal rank, it would be a different story. If that really happened, who among the 5 of them would be a match for Longao? Greed. The 5 of them couldn't wait to kill Longao and take away the treasures on Longao. Even with Longao as an enemy, the 4 of them still kept a distance from Zhou Feng. After all, Zhou Feng was from the Slaughter Clan. Who knew if Zhou Feng would make a move against them? The Slaughter Clan was indeed very powerful countless years ago. They even provoked the 4 major clans to join forces to suppress them. After so many years, although the 4 major clans had stopped pursuing the Slaughter Clan, the members of the Slaughter Clan still didn't dare to casually appear in the vast starry sky. The 4 of them had already decided that this wasn't the right time to fall out with Zhou Feng. Even if they didn't fall out now, it wouldn't in the future. If they were able to successfully kill Longao, then once they left this mysterious plane, they would join hands to kill Zhou Feng with all their might. From there, they would eliminate the root of the problem and eliminate all future troubles. Regarding the shamelessness of the 4 people, Zhou Feng was also very clear in his heart. Bide one's time and wait for the enemy to beat them at their own game. It could be said that both sides had ulterior motives and were scheming against each other. The 4 of you, I believe you have already seen the current situation. If we are still scattered, we will only give Longao a chance. Once Longao successfully leaves this place, we will be very passive. The vast starry sky was boundless and boundless. It was simply impossible to find a trace of a person in the vast starry sky. It was like finding a needle in the ocean. What Zhou Feng said was the most depressing thing for the 4 of them. But they really didn't want to join forces with Zhou Feng. Gang Mu smiled and said, Zhou Feng, we don't work together. You are from the Slaughter Clan. If we choose to join forces with you, even if we can kill Longao, it will be difficult for us to establish ourselves in the starry sky. That's right. If we want to kill Longao and snatch his treasures and divine powers, we'll rely on our own abilities. Let's not talk about other things. Gang Mu and Yi Chang's intentions were clear. The four of them wouldn't join forces with Zhou Feng. Zhou Feng wasn't angry at all. Instead, he smiled and said, "In that case, let's wait and see." Seeing Zhou Feng turn and leave, the four of them looked at each other and saw a deep sense of helplessness in each other's eyes. "What do you think we should do now?" The four of them were very serious about the current situation. Because Longao had obtained the divine powers, even if the four of them joined forces, they might not be able to kill Longao. Yichong thought for a while and said, "The current situation is very unfavorable for us. But according to my guess, if nothing unexpected happens, Longao shouldn't be able to fight us head-on. Otherwise, with the grudges between us, how could Longao choose to let us go?" They didn't think of it before. Now that they heard Yi Chang's words, the other three's expression changed. If they thought about it carefully, it was indeed so. "Let's go." Thinking of this, the four of them didn't hesitate and immediately began to lock onto Longao's position. Before Longao's cultivation base broke through, they had to lock onto him and kill him as soon as possible. If they waited until Longao's cultivation base broke through from Star Sky Legend to Star Sky Immortal Realm, everything would be too late. The four of them were completely anxious. Looking at the four of them gradually leaving, Zhou Feng's lips slowly curled into a cold smile as he muttered to himself, "The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. I want to see who will have the last laugh." As he spoke, Zhou Feng also followed the four of them. As the saying goes, the most dangerous place is also the safest place. Even if the five of them were to be beaten to death, they would never have guessed that Longao and Miao Linger were both cultivating under the Black Rock. As for Longao and Miao Linger leaving, the five of them were extremely confident. Their auras had already covered the entrance of the valley. As long as the two of them left, they would definitely be able to sense it. This point, the five of them were very confident. In the blink of an eye, 60 years had passed. Longao and Miaoling were still cultivating under the Black Rock. As for the five of them, they naturally thought of this place. However, Longao's actions were well hidden. Even now, the five of them still couldn't lock onto the two of them. After searching for 60 years, they still couldn't find anything. It was impossible to say that they weren't depressed. Even now, the five of them still didn't know where Longao and Miaoling had gone. The valley was only so big. Unless the two of them entered the black whirlpool again, it was impossible for them to escape from the range of their auras. Moreover, it had been 60 years. Just what was going on? Were Longao and Miaoling still in the valley? No idea. The five of them didn't know anything. However, after thinking about it, the five of them still managed to lock onto the two of them. If there were no accidents, Longao and Miaoling might have already entered the black whirlpool. The more they thought about it, the angrier and more helpless they got. If that was really the case, they could only continue to wait. Chapter 2492. There were two possibilities. Longao and Miao had either entered the black whirlpool or left the valley. The five of them were still certain that Longao and Miao had not left the valley. They had only entered the black whirlpool. They had no choice but to wait. The five of them released their auras to cover the entire valley. As long as Longao and Miao appeared, they would be able to sense their auras immediately. Another 30 years. It had been 90 years. Underneath the black boulder, after 90 years of cultivation, Longao had already successfully fused with the 8-colored lotus flower, leaving only the final 1-colored lotus flower. He had already fused 80% of the lotus. However, the remaining 20% was extremely difficult to fuse. It had already been 90 years. Did he have to wait another 10 years? It was complete nonsense. Longao was starting to get anxious. He knew very well that whether he could fuse the last 20% depended not on time, but on luck. It had been so many years, but he still felt that something was missing. What was it? A 9-colored lotus floated in front of Longao, emitting a strange energy. As for whether it contained the primal chaos energy, it was still unknown. He could not fuse the remaining 20% of the lotus. What was going on? He could not figure it out. Brother Long, what's going on? Longao did not hide anything from Miao Linger. He told her about how he fused the 9-colored lotus. After hearing it, Miao Linger's lotus turned serious. She asked, Brother Long, you fused the 9-colored lotus with your Yuan spirit? Yes. The 9-colored lotus gave birth to 9 lives. One had to fuse the 9-colored lotus with their Yuan spirit to truly fuse the 9 lives and achieve an undying body. Brother Long, have you ever thought of fusing the 9-colored lotus with your Yuan spirit and fusing the remaining lotus with other powers? What did that mean? Longao was not a fool. He naturally knew what Sister Miao meant. Nodding his head, Longao did not hesitate. He immediately prepared to fuse the remaining lotus with other powers. Other than the power of the primordial spirit, what else could he use to fuse with the primordial spirit? Longao used all the power in his body, but without exception, not a single power could fuse with the remaining lotus. Brother Long, is it still not enough? Nodding, Longao said helplessly, without exception, not a single power can fuse with the remaining lotuses. This caused Miao Linger to be a little confused. She had no idea what was going on. None of his powers could fuse with the lotus. Miao Linger and Longao looked at each other and saw the helplessness in each other's eyes. Right at this moment. Little brother dragon, according to what you said, the 9-colored lotus flower gave birth to 9 lives, and you've already fused all of the 8-colored lotus flowers. As for the last colored lotus flower, even if you've fused 80% of it, it's still not considered a true fusion. That's right. Strictly speaking, he had only managed to fuse the 8-colored lotus flower. He hadn't managed to fuse the last colored lotus flower. Why was he able to fuse 80% of the last colored lotus flower? It wasn't of much use. If that's the case, I have a guess, but I don't know if it will work. Please speak, Sister Miao. Since things had already come to this, he had to give it a try no matter what. Little brother Long, try fusing your bloodline. Bloodline fusing? Even though he felt that something was off, Longao was still prepared to give it a try. No matter what, this was the idea that Sister Miao had thought of. The bloodline in Longao's body began to churn, directly covering the 9-colored lotus, especially the last 1-colored lotus. Just as Longao was about to give up, the situation suddenly changed. The bloodline fusion, which originally had no hope, immediately began to change. After the bloodline covered the last colored lotus flower, it started to devour and fuse with it rapidly. Lin Fan was elated. Sister Miao, it's working. I'll start fusing with the last colored lotus flower. All right. Longao did not hesitate at all. He immediately put his heart and soul into the fusion of blood vessels. According to this fusion speed, it would not take more than 10 years for the fusion to succeed. 10 years later, ha ha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Following a series of maniacal laughter, Longao stood up abruptly. Seeing this, Miao Linger could guess what was going on. Her face was filled with joy as well. After laughing for a few minutes, Longao finally stopped. Sister Miao, I'm really thankful this time. If not for you, I wouldn't have fused with the 9-colored lotus flower. With this, I've completely fused with the 9-colored lotus flower and gained an immortal body. His essence spirit fused with the 8-colored lotus flower, and his bloodline fused with the 1-colored lotus flower. After the fusion, the 9-colored lotus flower was truly fused. And Longao now knew why the last colored lotus needed to be fused with the bloodline. Just fusing with the lotus flower was not enough to achieve immortality. Only by fusing with both the bloodline and the essence spirit would it be possible. Before Miao Ling could say anything, Longao continued, Sister Miao, how's your refining of the heart of the secret ground? This was the most important thing. Ever since Sister Miao had obtained the secret ground, it had been 100 years. If she was lucky, she might have truly refined the heart of the secret ground and become a half-step cosmic dominator. However, Miao Ling shook her head helplessly. Little brother Long, you don't know this. It's extremely difficult to refine the heart of the secret ground. In 100 years, I've only refined less than 1/10 of it. At this rate, I'll need at least 1,000 years. 1,000 years wasn't a long time for a cultivator in the universe. However, the situation right now was dangerous. If Sister Miao's cultivation base could reach the half-step cosmic dominator level, she would be of great help to the Empire. She could even threaten the other empires. However, there was no use in rushing things like this. Thankfully, Sister Miao could refine the heart of the secret ground. Even though it would take a little longer, there was still hope. Sister Miao, why don't we leave this place first? When we return to the Empire, I'll find a quiet place for you to cultivate wholeheartedly. How about that? How could Miao Ling not understand Longao's intentions? There was no problem at all. Miao Ling smiled, no problem. But little brother Long, if nothing unexpected happens, the 5 of them will still be guarding outside. If we appear, we'll definitely be locked down. At that time, we won't be able to leave this place smoothly. Chapter 2493. Longao naturally knew what Sister Miao was worried about. If there were no accidents, Zhou Feng and the others would definitely be waiting outside. If the 2 of them sneaked out, they would definitely be locked onto by the 5 of them. Under the current circumstances, if they chose to fight head-on, it would be very disadvantageous for the 2 of them. What should they do? Sister Miao, why don't we barge in? Miao Linger was very clear that other than barging in, there was no other good way. No problem. Longao and Miao Linger relaxed slightly and immediately left the cave, heading towards the entrance. They appeared? Zhou Feng and the others, who were still trying to lock onto the 2 of them, suddenly locked onto them and rushed towards the entrance. Their faces changed, but more of them were pleasantly surprised. They definitely couldn't let Longao leave the valley. The 5 of them chased after them with their fastest speed. However, Longao and Miao Linger's speed had reached the limit. In just a few seconds, the 2 of them had already left the valley. Realm, the faces of the 5 of them were extremely dark. Even though the realm wasn't big, if the 2 of them left this realm, it would be impossible to find them in the vast universe. Are the 4 of you not going to join forces with me? If it was any other time, the 4 of them would definitely not choose to join forces with Zhou Feng. No matter what, Zhou Feng's identity was there. But now, the situation was completely different. Helpless, Zhou Feng could only nod his head in agreement. Just like that, the 5 of them chose to join forces for the same goal and headed towards the entrance. But as for how to leave this realm, it was still a troublesome matter. Previously, when they stepped into this realm, it was because of the suppression of energy. If they wanted to leave, it was impossible to rely on luck alone. Brother Long, what should we do next? Miao Linger's face was extremely dark. Because she had already released her Yuan spirit and covered the entire realm, but she couldn't sense the entrance. If that was the case, the 2 of them wouldn't be able to leave this realm. The longer they delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for the 2 of them. No matter what, Zhou Feng's group of 5 would definitely not give up chasing after him. Sister Miao, I have a way to leave this place. Hearing Longao's words, Miao Linger's heart leaped with joy. Without the slightest hesitation, Longao immediately activated the 9-revolution chaos mantra in his body, and an invisible force instantly covered his whole body. In a short while, the entrance to the plane had been locked. Come with me. Ever since the Chaos Axe and Chaos Seal devoured the Chaos energy, Longao no longer felt a splitting headache as he circulated the 9 revolutions Chaos mantra. According to the current situation, the only way to lock onto the exit was to use the 9 revolution Chaos mantra. As expected, the two of them were very fast because they knew very well that if they could leave this plane smoothly, then everything would be much easier. Although the 5 of them could lock onto 2 of them, it would be too late by the time they started chasing after them. After leaving the plane, the 2 of them did not continue to linger in the mysterious plane. In less than a few minutes, they had already smoothly stepped into the vast starry sky. At the entrance to the plane, the 5 of them looked at the vast starry sky with ugly expressions. Longao and Miaoling had already left successfully. Under such circumstances, it wouldn't be easy to find traces of the 2 of them in the vast starry sky. The 4 of you, why don't we work together? Before Zhou Feng could finish his words, Gang Mu had already shook his head and said, Zhou Feng, we are not on the same path. Goodbye. Within the plane, the 4 of them naturally had nothing to fear. But now that they had stepped into the vast starry sky, if they continued to work together with Zhou Feng and this matter was known by others, then things would really be troublesome. Looking at the 4 of them gradually leaving, Zhou Feng did not have the slightest bit of anger. Instead, he turned around and left with a cold smile. The 3 of you, what should we do now? Gang Mu and the others were helpless to the extreme. If Longao was a peak starry sky immortal, then it would be easy to find him. But if Longao was unknown, then it would be too difficult to find him. This was because in the vast starry sky, no one knew about Longao's background. Yichong thought for a while and said, How about this? The 4 of us will first find out about Longao's background. With this person's talent and abilities, he shouldn't be a nobody. Since things had come to this was the only way. Other than the peak starry sky immortal, the rest of the people in the mysterious plane still did not leave. After all, no one knew what had happened before. Longao had left and returned because his friend, Yu Long, was still in the mysterious plane. Brother Long, what happened? Longao did not hide much from Yu Long and roughly told him what had happened before. However, he did not mention a word about the primal chaos axe devouring the primal chaos energy. After all, this was a serious matter. If it was leaked, even if he did not fear others, it would be difficult for the clairvoyant master to say anything. The clairvoyant master was willing to do anything for the primal chaos energy. After hearing this, Yu Long did not have any doubts. He said helplessly, Brother Long, forgive me for being blunt. Since you have already obtained the secret plane, why should you give it to Miaoling? As the saying goes, you may know a person for a long time without understanding their true nature. If Miaoling has other intentions in the future, wouldn't you lose more than you gain? How could Longao not know what Yu Long meant? Longao smiled and said, I believe in Sister Miao. Yu Long did not understand why Longao would do this. Under normal circumstances, since Longao had obtained the secret plane, he should have devoured it himself. Why should he give it to someone else? He could not understand. He really could not understand. However, since Longao had said so, he could not say anything more. Longao did not say anything either. Not long after, the 3 of them met. Miaoling and Yu Long had known each other for many years. Because of Longao, the 2 of them could not continue to be enemies. They had become friends. The 2 of you, let's return to my empire now. What do you think? Brother Long, I have no problem with it. Longao naturally knew that Sister Miao had no problem with it. He mainly asked for Yu Long's opinion because he knew that with his current strength, it was almost impossible for him to help Yu Long deal with Yu Bubi and take back the peak of the dragon race. Based on the current situation, he naturally had to consider the long-term plan. He was also worried that Yulong would be reckless. No matter what, after waiting for so many years, if Yulong failed to devour the secret plane and become a half-step starry sky ruler, Yulong would definitely be disheartened. If he did something stupid, it was not something he wanted to see. Chapter 2494. How could Yulong not know what Longao meant? He was touched. After thinking for a while, Yulong said, "Brother Long, I don't have anywhere to go for the time being. If you don't mind, I can follow you back to your empire. How about that?" "All right." Other than Longao, no one else knew about Yulong's identity, including Miao Ling. The mysterious dimension was very far from the soaring dragon realm. However, with their speed, they could reach it in at most 2 hours. Just as they arrived at the empire, Longao personally arranged a secluded and elegant forbidden area for the two of them. Other than himself, no one else was allowed to take even half a step into it. Longao's smooth return made everyone heave a sigh of relief. Although every time Longao left, he would be able to return smoothly, everyone was still incomparably worried because no one knew when an accident would happen. Yulong didn't know about the situation in the Soaring Dragon Empire, but that didn't mean that Miao Ling didn't know. The current Soaring Dragon Empire was probably the most powerful force in the vast starry sky. A full 12 Chaos Steels were already all obtained by Longao. If the Soaring Dragon Empire was given enough time, there was no doubt that there would be a total of 12 universe rulers. What kind of concept was that? What did that mean? Not only that, Longao had also devoured a Chaos Tablet. In that case, the Soaring Dragon Empire would have a total of 13 universe rulers in the future. It was too scary. Even if all 12 universe rulers gathered together, they wouldn't be a match for the Soaring Dragon Empire in the future. However, without Longao's intention, Miao Ling didn't know what to do. At this moment, "Miao Ling do you know why Brother Long is looking for us?" Miao Ling shook her head. Her meaning was clear. Before the two of them could continue talking, Longao had already walked in. However, he wasn't alone. There were two people beside him. They were none other than Xiling and Long Chong. "Little Brother Long, is there something you need from us?" The Soaring Dragon Empire originally had 3 universe rulers. However, the indestructible Tyrant Body Universe ruler, also known as Xian Tong, had left. In other words, only Long Chong and Xiling were left in the Soaring Dragon Empire. "Big Sister Miao, Brother Yulong, let me introduce you. This is Xiling Starry Sky Ruler, and this is my brother, Long Chong. He has already devoured the 5 Elements Primal Chaos Tablet, and will become the 5 Elements Starry Sky Ruler in the future." Huh? What did that mean? Looking at the two people beside Longao, both Miao Linger and Yulong were dumbfounded. They had never expected that Longao's Soaring Dragon Empire would have 2 rulers of the starry sky. Although Long Chong had only just devoured the 5 Elements Primal Chaos Stone Tablet, he was 100% sure that he would become the ruler of the 5 Elements Starry Sky in the future. The two immediately bowed respectfully and said, "Greetings, Lord Xiling, Lord Long Chong." Beneath the Starry Sky Sovereign, all were ants. Longao didn't say much. Although he had a good relationship with the two, he still had to show proper etiquette. After all, Long Chong and Xiling's status was there. Xiling and Long Chong nodded indifferently, especially Xiling. He said coldly, "Longao, I have something to do, so I'll take my leave first." Before Longao could say anything, Xiling had already turned and left. "Big brother, go." As the 2 rulers of the starry sky left, Miao Linger and Yulong finally heaved a sigh of relief. They had roamed the vast universe for so many years, but they had never seen a single ruler of the starry sky. They had only heard of the 12 rulers of the starry sky. "Little Brother Long, You've really given us a huge surprise. Miao Linger couldn't understand why Longao had suddenly called the two rulers of the starry sky over. It couldn't be a show of force, because their relationship with Longao was obvious. As for Yulong, he didn't care about Longao. He immediately said, "Brother Long, I want to ask you for a favor." Regarding Yulong's meaning, Longao knew clearly. Smiling helplessly, Longao said, "Brother Yulong, although Long Chong is my brother, he hasn't truly devoured the primal chaos tablet. So for the time being, Long Chong can't help you." Of course, Yulong knew this. If the primal chaos tablet could be refined so easily, then the soaring dragon empire would be the strongest power in the vast universe. As for Xiling, because of various reasons back then, Yulong wasn't a fool. Of course, he knew what Longao meant. Even if the soaring dragon empire had two rulers of the starry sky, they couldn't help him. Yulong was a little disappointed because he knew that if the two rulers of the starry sky could help him, then there was no doubt that no one in the peak dragon race could stop them. But now, the situation was completely different. Brother Yulong, the reason I brought Xiling and Long Chong here is to tell you that even if we can't deal with the peak dragon race now, it doesn't mean we can't in the future. Without waiting for Yulong to speak, Longao continued, "Brother Yulong, you've waited for so many years. There's no need to be so calculative about waiting a few more days. I can also tell you that when my cultivation breaks through to the starry sky immortal realm, I can help you take back the peak dragon race." Longao was very confident about this. If his cultivation broke through to the starry sky immortal realm, then with the help of the primal chaos axe and the primal chaos 9 axes, he could definitely kill the peak starry sky immortal realm. However, Longao was very helpless about his cultivation breakthrough. He originally thought that it wouldn't take long for him to break through from the starry sky legend realm to the starry sky immortal realm. But in the end, it had been more than 200 years, and his cultivation still hadn't broken through smoothly. It was a very unrealistic problem. "Brother Long, thank you for your kindness. I know what to do." If Yulong still didn't know what Longao meant, then he was really a fool. He was really touched because he had friends in the past, but every time he encountered the threat of the peak dragon race, they would either stand by and do nothing, or choose to betray him. Since then, there was one person who treated him like Longao. It was enough to have such a friend in this life. Longao didn't continue to persuade him because this was all he could do. Even he couldn't do anything about the rest. He just hoped that Yulong wouldn't act rashly. When his cultivation broke through to the starry sky immortal realm, or when Xiling and Long Chong became starry sky dominators, then it would be time to snatch the peak dragon race. After Yulong left, Miao Ling suddenly smiled and said, "Brother Long, if a person like you was placed in the vast starry sky, I'm afraid you would suffer a lot." Chapter 2495. Longao smiled. Longao never showed mercy to his enemies. If he could eliminate them completely, he wouldn't let anyone go. However, Longao was always attentive to his friends. Otherwise, it wouldn't be Miao Ling devouring the secret domain, but him. Could it be that Longao didn't have any selfish motives? It wouldn't matter if it was something else, but the secret domain was different. If Longao successfully devoured the secret domain, he would undoubtedly become a half-step space dominator. What did this mean? Longao chose to give up on devouring the secret domain. Firstly, he wanted to fulfill Miao Ling-er's wish. After all, Miao Ling-er had waited for him for so many years. If Yulong followed him, the secret domain might be given to him. Secondly, he had already devoured the non-attributed primal chaos tablet. If nothing went wrong, he would become a space dominator in the future. Since that was the case, why waste the secret domain? That was the case. After thinking about it, Longao decided to give the secret domain to Miao Ling. Sister Miao, I want to ask you for a favor. No need to be so polite with me. If there's anything I can do, I won't refuse. Longao smiled, but then said seriously, whether it's Xiling, Long Chong, or anyone else, to completely refine the primal chaos tablet and become a space dominator isn't something that can be done in a day. Miao Ling didn't say anything. She just listened quietly. I thought that with my talent, it wouldn't be difficult for me to break through from the legend realm to the immortal realm. However, I didn't expect that after more than 200 years, my cultivation still hasn't broken through. Miao Ling was very curious about this. Little brother Long, cultivation itself is a heaven-defying path, especially for some geniuses. It's very possible for them to be stuck in a certain realm. Take me for example, it took me tens of millions of years to break through the Starry Sky Immortal Realm and the Limit Starry Sky Immortal Realm. She was shocked. Longao knew that Sister Miao wouldn't lie to him. If that was the case, then it was unknown when he could break through to the Immortal Realm. He did not continue to dwell on this issue, because Longao already knew that whether he could break through the limit of the Starry Sky Immortal Realm depended on luck. Even if he was anxious, there wasn't much he could do. Elder Sister Miao, if my cultivation base is unable to break through the limit of the Starry Sky Immortal Realm, then please help Brother Roaming Dragon take back the peak of the Dragon Clan. Peak Dragon Race. Until now, Miao Linger still didn't know Yulong's true identity. Although they had interacted with Yulong countless times over the years, they had never thought that Yulong would come from one of the top 6 clans, the Dragon Clan. He smiled. Since things had already come to this, Longao did not hide anything. Then, he briefly explained Yulong's identity. After hearing Longao's words, Miao Ling was completely stunned. Of course, she knew what the identity of the Dragon Emperor at the pinnacle of the Dragon Clan meant. From the start to the end, Miao Linger had never imagined that Yulong, whom she had interacted with for countless years, would actually be the so-called Dragon Emperor of the Dragon Clan. Unbelievable. Little brother Long, I promise you. Regardless of her relationship with Yulong, just because of her relationship with Longao, Miao Linger had no choice but to agree. Elder Sister Miao, from now on, you will fully integrate with the heart of the secret realm. Alright. After not returning to the Empire for 200 years, Longao was not in a hurry to leave this time. Instead, he spent some time with his family. As for his son, he did not take it to heart. In the blink of an eye. Since Longao returned to the Empire, it had been decades since Longao had a breakthrough in his cultivation base. This made Longao very depressed. During this period of time, the entire vast starry sky was searching for Longao's traces. The 9 great starry sky empires, Zhou Feng and the others. However, the location of Longao and the empire was too secretive. Unless one was unlucky, no one would be able to find Longao and the soaring dragon empire. However, Longao did not continue to linger because he was very clear that he had to deal with things that needed to be dealt with. First of all, the 9 great starry sky empires. Even if he did not look for them, Bai Jing and the others would not let him off easily. In that case, he might as well take the initiative. For so many years, Longao had always wanted to take the initiative. He did not like to be passive. After leaving the Empire, Longao headed towards the number 1 Great Starry Sky Empire. His first target was the number 1 Great Starry Sky Empire. The number 1 Great Starry Sky Empire now had 1 half-step Starry Sky Dominator and 4 peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm Expert. Such strength was enough to conquer the entire vast starry sky. It was almost impossible for him to shake the number 1 Great Starry Sky Empire with his strength alone. However, Longao had already thought of a way. If he could not do it head-on, then he would do it from the back. With his strength and the help of the formation, as long as he did not meet 5 people, No one in the number 1 Great Starry Sky Empire would be his match. Number 1 Great Starry Sky Empire. For more than 200 years, there was no news of Longao. Bai Jing and the others were furious because the vast starry sky was too big. Even with the number 1 Great Starry Sky Empire's strength, they could not find Longao's trace in a short time. As for giving up, it was almost impossible. Whether it was because they were afraid of Longao's talent or the treasures and remarkable abilities on Longao, they could not easily give up. Otherwise, the number 1 Great Starry Sky Empire would not be willing to give up after so many years. Ancestor, what should we do now? Bai Hua was very anxious because the longer they delayed, the more likely it was that Longao would rise. If they waited until Longao really became a peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm expert, then the Starry Sky would be in big trouble. After all, the ancestor could not watch over everyone at all times. 200 years was nothing for other Starry Sky cultivators, but for Longao, they dared not say much because of Longao's talent. How could Bai Jing not know about Bai Hua's worries? She said solemnly. Some time ago, several peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm experts suddenly appeared in the Starry Sky and were also looking for Longao's trace. It seems that Longao did not hide. Bai Hua, the 4 of you do not relax at all. Continue to search for Longao, no matter what. It was easy to say, but it was very difficult to do because if Longao really hid, where would they find him? Searching for a needle in a haystack was completely impossible. Right at this moment. Ancestor, Your Majesty, this subordinate has something to report. Everyone was very curious because no one dared to disturb them if there was nothing very important. Therefore, something important must have happened. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.